Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, you will learn to create this website from absolute scratch. You can see the website design is actually very modern looking with these sort of images and styling going all over the pages. You will learn how you can make all of this in a web page using CSS, but you will also learn to make them responsive as well. You see, making these images are easy, but to make them responsive as well, that's not easy at all. So if you are wondering what you need to get started with this tutorial, well, a basic knowledge of HTML, CSS and JavaScript, that's all you need to follow this tutorial. Other than that, everything in this video I will explain to you. Also, you can ask me whatever question you may have in the comments. I will be glad to clear them. So before we start, give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe the channel so you will never miss anything like this in future. So to follow this course, go to video's description and you will find a GitHub repo link. Open that. This page will open then. It's a starter files repo I made for you. You just have to download it by clicking on this download button. Or if you use git CLI, then first of all, click on this fork button to fork this repo in your account. Then click on the code. Then copy this HTTPS link and in your terminal type git clone and paste that link here. This will clone the GitHub repo in your system. Once done, you will see a folder like this which contains images and the HTML, CSS and JavaScript files. So now you can open the folder in VS Code and let's start the tutorial. Okay, so let's start with our navbar, and in the design you can see in the navbar I have this logo, then these links and the search bar and the cart icon. So let's start by making these first. So in the index page, first of all, before creating the navbar, let's import the font that we will going to use. Well, in the design, if I click on the text, you can see I am using this Lato font. So let's import this using Google Fonts. So go to your browser and search for Google Fonts. Click on the first link, and once the page is open, in the search font, search for Lato. So this is the font family that we will going to use in this project. So what style we need? Well, I am going to select this 100 one, the 300 one also, 400, 700 and 900. So basically we want all the regular styles, not the italic styles. And now on here, when you scroll down, you can click on this copy icon to copy these link tags and you can paste that link here. So these links will import the Google Fonts, and it's good to add comment. So let's just add a Google Font CDN link, CDN comment here, and also add the local style file. So use the link tag and in the href just give the path of the style.css file. So now we can move on to our navbar. So well, basically this navbar will be inside our header, which will contain this navbar and this hero section. So let's make a header, and inside it we will make a navbar. For that, make a nav tag and give it a class navbar. Inside it, for the logo, I can use image tag to import the image, and the image will be image/logo.png, and I'll give a class of logo so that I can select it in the CSS. Now after the logo, I have these 4 links in this website, so let's just make those. So for that, make an unordered list and let's just give it a class links container. These links container or this UL will be the wrapper for our links. So make LIs for individual links, give them class link items, and since we want the links to be clickable, make an anchor tag. In the href for now, just set it to hashtag because we don't have any actual link, and in the class give links so that we can style it in the CSS. Let me just copy these links quickly and paste it here. By the way, you can download these actually you can download this Figma file from the description, so you don't have to write all these text by yourself. You can just copy like me and paste it in the code like this. So if I go back to my website, you can see the logo and the links. So now let's style it. So in the CSS file, if you open the CSS file, you can see I have already declared all the color variables that we will going to use in this website. So after this root selector, just select the HTML and first of all set its font size to 16 pixels. By setting the font size 16 pixels, we are just giving the default font size, and then we can use the rem value in our entire project. So now select the body, and the first thing we will do here is we will apply the font family that we have imported from the Google font. So if I scroll down, you can see this CSS rules. Just click on this icon to copy this line and paste it here, and it will apply this Lato font family to all the text. Now just basically set the default color of each text to this primary text color. Basically this primary text color, if you come in this root element, it's just this black color, but by setting its default to each text, you can just change the color here and it will change the color of all the text in your page. So after that, just to give a background to it also, and give it a background of primary color. If I go back to the web page, you can see nothing has changed because our primary color is white. So now let's style the navbar. So select the navbar using the navbar class, and what we will do is set its position to fixed, so it will always stay on top irrespective of scroll. Set top and left to 0, and give its width to 100%, so it will cover the entire width, but the height will be 4 rem. And since we want these logo, these links and the search bar side by side, we need to break this flow of layout. So to break the layout flow, just say display flex, and it will make all of the things side by side. As you can see, the logo and the links are side by side now. And after that, just give align items center to make them vertically centered, and I guess we can add some padding to it also. Let me refresh. So this is how it looks. Also give it a set index of 9, so it will always be above all the elements, so you don't have to worry about it is coming behind any element. And let's give it a background color of accent color. Now we can work on the logo. So select the logo and just to set its height to 1.5 rem to make it little bit smaller like this. Now let's select the links container, and to make the links side by side, of course use display flex, and to add a spacing between them, just use gap property to add gap of 1 rem between these links, as you can see right here. Now to remove these bullet points, we will use list style none, so just give list style, not style type, list style none, and it will remove the bullet points. As you can see, they are gone now. And just add a margin left here so that it will create some spacing between these logo and the link container. So let me say margin left 7.5%. I'm not using rem here, it's just a percentage value, and it's looking good. So now let's style the links. So our link should be black in color and a little bit of different. So let's select the links, set their color to 100%, and let's select the margin left to 7.5%. primary text color, and to remove the underline web just say text decoration none, and to make each letter capital say text transform capitalize, so it will make the first letter capital, and add a padding of let's say 0.5 rem from top and bottom and 1 rem from left and right, and also give it a transition of 0.2 seconds, and this is how it looks interesting. Now let's add a hover effect, so select the links, and to add a hover effect, which means whenever you take your mouse over the links, what will happen, use colon and then type hover. So whenever we will take the mouse over the links, what we want is to change the color, so set the color to secondary text color, and now if I take my mouse or cursor, you can see the color is changing to this greenish color. So we are halfway done with our navbar. We need the this search box with the cart option. So again, let's come to the index page, and here I can add a comment saying search box, and let's create that. So make a div and give it a class, maybe call it nav extras because I don't know what to call them, and here we will create the search box. So again, for the search box, make a div, give it a class search, and this div will contain this white text field as well as this icon. So here make an input, the type will be text, give the class to search box and say placeholder to, let me just copy this text instead of typing, yeah, and after it just add a button and give it a class search btn, and instead of typing here search, we will add the icon, and the icon we will going to use is this one. Instead of using the image for the icon, I'm going to use font awesome library for that. So if you don't know what it is, just simply go on browser and search for fontawesome.com, and the page will open. So you can see here it provides you icon in the HTML code and the CSS style. So in the search, I can search for search and these sort of icons I'm getting. So I need this magnifying glass, so let me click it, and I can just copy this I class and I can paste it here, and what it will do, it will create that icon here. Instead of using the image, I'm using this vector svg graphic, which is just a CSS styles. But if I go back to my site, you won't see anything. If I zoom in, well, you can see there is a little circle but nothing else. Why? Because we haven't imported the font awesome library in our project. For that, search for font awesome cdn and make sure you go to CSS website. Here just click on this copy URL link, and now let's just import it after the Google font. So let me add another comment, font awesome cdn, and I can paste that link in this link tag. So this will import the font awesome library, and since we have the library now, if I go back, you can see the search icon in the button. Great. After the search, we have this cart icon. So after this search box outside this search div, let's add the cart button. For that, make an anchor tag, and since we don't have any link, just set it to hashtag and give it a class cart. And here again we will going to use font awesome. So again, let me go to font awesome website, click on the search, and here I can search for cart. This one is the icon that we need. So let me just copy the HTML tag and paste it here. If I go back, you can see the icon right here. Okay, so we have the HTML that we need. Now let's just style it in the CSS. So select the nav extras, which is the container for the search box, and the cart icon. Set their display to flex and set the align atom to center to make them vertically centered. Add some margin left auto. Adding this margin left auto will stick the nav extra container on the right side. As you can see, they are coming on the right side even though they have space here. And since we are using the display flex, I can use gap property to create gap between the cart and the search box. Now select the search container and set its position to relative and set the width to 20 VW with a minimum width of 150 pixels and a height of 2.5 rem. Set the border radius to 0.5 rem for the round edges, and to hide the overflow, just say overflow hidden. Now let's make the input box cover the whole search box. So for that, select the search box with the class and set its width to 100%, height to 100%, so it will cover the whole search box, as you can see right here. Now give it a background of this primary color variable, which is a white color. Remove the border. Add some padding, let's say 1 rem from all 4 directions. Good. Now set its outline to none, so it will remove that browser default outline, and set the font size to 0.9 rem instead of 1 rem. Great. Now select the search btn. Search btn is this search icon, and now let's make that on this right side of the input box. So for that, first of all, set its position to absolute and say border to none because it's a button, and set right to 0 so it will stick on the right side, and give it a width of 3 rem and a height of 100%. Now give a background of this primary color, which is again the white color. Set text align center, and this will align the icon in the center. Well, if you never used the font or some before, this I tag behaves like a text, so you can apply font size to increase the size of the icon and text align properties to align them. So you can basically use the font properties to style the icon. Now set the cursor to pointer, so it will have the pointer cursor whenever you take your mouse over to the button, and just change the color of the icon to secondary text color, and now it is looking good. Now let's just style this cart btn. So select the cart class and set its width to 2.5 rem. Set the height to 2.5 rem and give the color again to secondary text color. Set the border radius to 100%. Set display to flex, and since we are giving display flex, I can use justify content center and align atom center to make the icon perfectly centered in the button. And to remove the underline, if you come here and if I zoom, you can see there is an underline below our icon because this is an anchor tag, not a button. To remove that, just use text decoration none and give it a transition because we will going to have a hover effect to it. So just add 0.5 seconds transition. So now let's add the hover effect. So select the class and then the hover state and just say background and change the background to this alpha secondary color, which is the secondary color with the transparency. So if I take my mouse over it, you can see this hover effect is working. So we are done with our navbar, and let's move on to the next section, which is header. So if I come back to my design, after the navbar I have this hero section, and let's create this hero section with this content and the image container. So go back to index.html page, and after this nav tag where it is closing, add a comment, say it's hero section, and for the hero section, instead of using a section tag, I will use main tag because this will be the main section of this entire page. And instead of giving it class, I will give ID to it, hero section, and we will use this hero section ID in CSS to select this element. So if you see the design well, in the hero section I have this hero content and this hero image container, which has these three images and the review. So let's first make this content. So for that, again, let me add comment hero content, and for the hero content make a div and give it a class hero content. And for the content, the first thing we have is a heading, and then we have some sort of text right here. So let's make those two first. So for the heading, make h1, give it a class hero heading, and let me just copy this heading from here and paste it here. After that, make a p tag and let's call it hero line. Again, let me copy this text and paste right here. So after h1 and p, we have this input box with this GPS icon right here. So instead of coding the HTML for the input box, I will just copy this search HTML of navbar and I will paste right here. But since this will be the different search box for this hero section, add another class here which will be location, and we will use this location class to add custom styles to this one. But if you see here, instead of search icon I have this GPS icon here. So let's go back to font awesome and let's search for GPS. So let's search location, and this one is the one that we need. So copy this I tag and replace it with the search icon, and instead of having this search btn class, let's just add locate btn class as well in here so that we can style it in the CSS. And after that, we have these two buttons in this hero content. So for that, make a div, and this div will be the wrapper for those two buttons. So let's call it hero action btn container, and inside it let's make the button. Let's call or give it a class btn. Now copy this text from the design and paste right here. Now make a copy of it and go to the design and copy this make resolution text and paste here. So this will create two buttons. Now if you see, both the buttons are different in styles. For that, I will add an extra class to the second button so that I can add this transparent background to it. So add a transparent class, and we will select this class in CSS to add some different class styles. Now between these two buttons, if you see the design, we have this or text. So for that, just add a p tag, give it a class or, and just type or. So this is the basic HTML of our hero content. And if I go back to the website, you can see a search box here with these two buttons. Well, you can't see the h1 and para because they are coming beneath below the navbar. So if I inspect this page and if I just delete my navbar, you can see the heading and the paragraph. So now let's style it. So go to the style.css file, add a comment here saying hero section, And now let's select the hero section first with its ID. Set its minimum height to 100 VH, so it will at least cover 100 view height. Give it a padding of 0 from top and bottom and 10 VW from left and right. And since we want this hero content and the image container side by side, use display flex here and just say justify content space between to add space between the hero image container and the content, and say align item center to make the elements vertically centered, and also give it a background of variable accent color. So this is how it looks. Now let's select the hero content, which is the wrapper of our contents. Give it a width of 40%, and this is how it looks. Now select the hero heading and set its font size to 4 rem. Give it a line height of maybe 5 rem and a font weight of 700, so it will be little bold, and set its color to secondary text color, which is the greenish color. Now select the paragraph, which is hero line, and let's set its line height to 2 rem. Give it opacity of 0.75, so it will be 0.75% transparent. Actually, let me just remove these square brackets and give it some margin top, let's say 2 rem from top, and yeah, it's looking good. Now we want this input box to cover this whole width and have some margin or space between this text and the button, so let's style it. So select the search, which is this wrapper for our input and button, but since we need this location class as well, say search dot location. So whatever style we write here will only apply to those elements which has this location as well as this search class. So set the width basically to 100%, so it will cover the whole width, and give it a height of 3.5 rem. Set border radius to 0.2 rem and give it a margin of 2.5 rem from top and bottom and 0 from left and right. Great. Now we just want to make this icon a little bit bigger in size. So select the locate btn and set its font size to 1.2 rem. Give it a width of 4 rem and add a transition of 0.5 second because we will add hover effect to it. So now it is bigger and you can see the hover effect. Well, the hover effect is the same as the cart hover, so just add this locate btn class and this hover state after this comma, and it will add this background color on hover. Now select the search with the location and just select the search box, which is the input box, and we will just change its padding a little bit. So add a padding of 1 rem from top and bottom and 1.5 rem from left and right, so it will have a little bit more padding. Now let's style these buttons. So first of all, we need them to come side by side. For that, select the wrapper, which is this hero action btn container. So copy this class and paste right here. Set display to flex. Say align item center, so it will align the items or buttons in vertically centered. Add a cap of 2 rem to add cap between them. Now you can select the btn and say padding 1 rem from top and bottom, 1.5 rem from left and right. Set its border to none, border radius to 3.3 rem. Now set its font size to 1 rem. Give it a color of light text color, which is white text color, and give it a background of secondary color. Set text transform to capitalize to make first letter capital, and give it a cursor pointer, so whenever you take your mouse or cursor over it, it will change into hand icon, as you can see right here. Now I need different style for this second button. As you can see in the design, we have a transparent background and the color of the text is this greenish color. So let's do that. So select the btn when it has the transparent class, and since we have this transparent class in this make reservation button, it will apply the styles to this button. So I can say here background transparent, so it will remove the background, and the border will be 0.1 rem solid, and the color will be secondary color, and the text color, set it to variable secondary text color, and you can see the button right here. So now select this or text and let's change its color to greenish color. So select the hero action btn container, which is the wrapper of the button, and select the or text and simply set its color to variable secondary text color to change the color to greenish color. So with that, we are done with this hero content, and now we have to make the hero image, which is this container. So let's create this. So after this div hero content, wherever it ends, add a comment. Let's say hero image container, and for this make a div, give it a class hero image container, and this hero image container will be a wrapper for all of these the rings, these 3 plates of food and the review, all of these things. So first of all, let's create these sort of rings first, and then we will move on to these food and review. So make a div inside the container and give it a class background element, and for the rings just make a div and give it a class ellipse. Since we need 3 rings, just copy this 2 more times, and if I go back to the website, well, you won't see anything because we have only empty divs. So let's style it. So just copy this hero image container and select it in the CSS. So set its minimum width to 30 rem and its minimum height to 30 rem, and give it a position relative. So why I'm setting its minimum width and minimum height to 30 rem? Well, because this hero image container is a children of this hero section, and this hero section has this display flex, as you can see right here. So what display flex does, it just make the children's size according to the layout so that they are flexible to the layout. But we don't want this for this image container. We need them to be of a certain width and height. So by using this minimum width and minimum height, we can set its specific width and height, and the flex box will not change these width and height values in order to make the layout flexible. And we need them, and we need these this container a fixed width and height, because everything inside it will have absolute position, and for them to really position in all the devices sizes, we need it to be of a fixed size. I hope that makes sense. So now first of all, let's select the background element and just give it a width of 100%, so it will cover the whole image container, and set its height to 100% as well. Set its position to absolute, and now just select the ellipse, set the ellipse position to absolute, set the height to 100%, and let's make it in the center. So give top 50% and left 50%. Set the border radius to 100% for a complete circle, and give it a border of 0.01 rem solid and the color will be secondary color, and just give transform origin center because we will rotate these ellipses. So if I refresh, well, you just see this sort of line. This is not a circle because we only have height here, we don't have width. So to give width, first select the ellipse, and we will have different width for different ellipses, and to select these ellipses individually we will use nth selector. So nth child selector, well, this nth child selector will select the exact number whatever you type here. So if I type here 2, it will select the second ellipse element that it found. So first we need the first ellipse, so I will just say 1, and it will select the first ellipse, which is this one right here. So for the first ellipse, I want its width to 80%, and I want the transform, well, since we are using the top and left 50%, to make it perfectly centered, I have to use translate -50%, -50%, and this way it will be completely in center. And I will use rotate to rotate the circle like 20 degree maybe. And if I refresh, you can see this is the first ellipse, and the second and third is just a line because we don't have height for them. So just copy these lines and paste below, and now select the second child and set the width of it to 90%. Change the rotation to 40 degree. If I refresh, you can see right here, well, it should be 90%. Good. Now again copy this, paste again, change the selector to third, so it will select the third ellipse, and I will just set its width to 90%, and the rotation value will be -20 degree. And if I refresh, yeah, so this is how our rings look, and you can play with this rotation and the width value to find whatever looks good for you. Now after the ring, we have these 3 images, which is the food images split. So let's create them. So after this div background element, make another div, and let's call it foreground element. And inside this foreground elements, we will add the food images and the review itself. So for the food, well, just add image tag, and in the source just provide the image path. So the first one is the biryani one, and also give it a class hero image so that we can style it in the CSS. Make 2 more copies of it because we have 3 images, and change the path of the images. So the second one will be the burger, and the third one will be the pizza one. And if I go back, you can see these 3 images right here. So now let's style them. Come back to style.css file. Now select the foreground elements and set its position to absolute as well. Give its width to 100% and height to 100%. If I refresh, well, this is how it looks. Well, since this position, absolute, width and height is same as this background element, I will just add a comma here, and I will select the foreground element, so it will apply these 3 class styles to this class as well. So that's how I don't have to write this style again. And now I will select the hero image, set the position to absolute, and set the width to 10 rem. Set the border radius to 100% for a complete circle. And if I zoom in my design, you can see we have a little bit of box shadow here. So to add box shadow here, I will say box shadow and 0 for x coordinate, 1 rem from y offset, and 1 rem for blur amount. And for the color, I will just use this shadow variable, which is the shadow color. So if I refresh, you can see the food right here. Now select the hero image using the nth child selector to select them individually. So select the first hero image, and first one will have a 20 RAM of it. Set its left to -8% and top to -15%. So if I go back, you can see this is how it looks. Now copy this and paste again, and now select the second one, and second one will have a width of 15 RAM, and instead of having left -8%, it will have right of -15%. Well, again, you can play with these values on your own to find whatever looks good to you. And let's set its top to 15% instead of -15%, and this is how it looks. Now select the third one and set its width to 15 RAM as well. Set the left to 35%, and instead of top, set the bottom to -20%. So if I refresh, well, it looks like this. If you see, this image is getting cut by this navbar because this whole hero image container is actually very big in size. So instead of making the images individually small, let's just scale down this hero image container. So this is our hero image container. Just after this, add a transform and say scale 0.9. If I go back, now everything is looking fine, but let's make it little bit in the bottom side because to create some spacing here. So for that, I will use translate y and I will say 1 RAM. So it will have a 1 RAM. It will come 1 RAM on the downside. Great. Now let's create the review, which is this one right here. So go back to the HTML file, and after these images, make a div, and for the review, give it a class review box. This review box will be the container for the review, and make another div and give it a class reviewer info, and this will be the info container for the reviewer. So we need the image for the reviewer image. So add an image path user one and give it a class reviewer image. And after that, if I come back, you can see we have a image of the reviewer, then the name and the review itself. So let's create this one. So make a div for that and give it a class reviewer, and inside it we need the rating. So make a div and give it a class reviewer rating, and we need these star icons. So again, I will use font awesome. So let me close it and search here star. I will use this icon. So copy this and paste right here. Make 3 more copies of it for 4 stars, and the 5th one will be half fill. So I can type here half, and this one is the icon that I'm going to use. So add these. So this is the 5-star icon. If I go back to the website, you can see the image and this 5-star. Now after this rating, I need the name of the reviewer. So for that, make an h2 inside this reviewer container and give it a class reviewer name. Let me just copy this name and paste right here. Great. So this is the reviewer info, which contains the name and the rating and the image. Now after or wherever this reviewer info ends, make another div and give it a class review body, and this review body will contain this quote icon and this review. So for the quote icon, I will go again to this font awesome and here search for quote, and this quote left icon this is the icon that I will use. So just click on this and copy this, paste right here, and it will import the icon. Now for the review, make a paragraph, give it a class review. Let me just copy it from design and paste right here. Great. So this is the structure of our review. If I go back to the web page, you can see we have everything we need. Now we have to just style it a bit. So come back to the style.css file and select the review box first, which is the container of everything. Set its position to absolute, set its width to 30 rem, give it a padding of 1 rem from top and bottom and 2 rem from left and right, give it a bottom of 5% and a left of -25%, give it border radius 0.5 rem for round edges, and set its background to variable alpha primary color, which is transparent white color. And if I go back, you can see this is how it looks. But if you see under this div, I can clearly see this image. But if I go back to my design, you can see there is some sort of blur. So to add that blur, add a backdrop filter property and just use blur function, and here give the amount of blur, which will be 0.5 rem. And if I refresh, now you can see the image under this div is blurred. And this is how you create. Now select the reviewer info and just set its display to flex, so the image and the name come side by side, and give it a gap of 1 rem. Now select the reviewer image and set its width to 3 rem, set its height to 3 rem as well for a perfect square, and now give it a border, and now give it a border radius of 100% for a circle. And this is how it looks. Now just we have to style everything else. So select the reviewer rating and set it to display flex, so it will make the stars side by side. Add a gap of 0.1 rem, add a font size of 0.7 rem, and set its align item to center. So if I come back, this is how it looks. Well, if I go to my design, I have this text also in this after this stars showing the rating, and we haven't made that. So let's go back to the HTML page, and after this where the icons are ending, just add a p tag and just say 4.5, and this is how it looks. Now I just have to change the color of the stars, so select those. So just say a reviewer rating and select the I for the icons, and just change the color of them to rating color variable. And now select the reviewer name, and the name will have a font weight of 400 because we don't want it too bold. Set its font size to 1.2 rem and give it some margin from top, maybe 7.75 rem, and yeah, it's looking good. Now select the review body, set it to display flex, so the quotes and the review come side by side. Add a gap of 1 rem, give it some margin top, maybe 0.5 rem, and add a padding of 1 rem from top and bottom and 0 from left and right. Now select the quote icon using the I tag, set the font size to 1.4 rem and give it a color of secondary text color. Great. Now select the review and just give it a line height of 1.75 rem. And this is how our image container looks. And with this, the hero section is also done. We have this hero content and this hero image container, and we also have the Navbar. So after the hero image container, we have this restaurants container, restaurant section, where we have this container and this text info, and then the listings of the restaurants from where user can order. So now let's create this. So for that, after this header, let me just close this, collapse this header, and outside this header, let's create a section. Let me add a comment here, restaurants section. So give this section a class. Let's call it restaurants section. This section will contain this image container, this text, as well as this restaurant cards as well. So let's make that. So make a div and give this div a class section. Well, you can give it anything, but I'm giving this section just because this div will contain this image container as well as this content, or you can say info about this section. So inside this we will add, of course, the food image container, but before adding that, let's first make this contents thing. So section content. For this, make a div and give it a class section detail, and in the detail, well, basically we have this paragraph, this text here, then this heading, the paragraph, and the button. So make a span tag and give this a class section highlight, and this will be this element. So here let me just copy and paste this text, and now let's create the heading. For the heading, I will create a p tag, not using h1, and give it a class section title. Again, just copy and paste the text. Again, create a paragraph, give it a class section info, and copy this text from the design and paste right here. Now after this, we have a button. So make a button, give a class btn, and just say order food. So this is the section detail, which is this part. If I go back to the website and scroll down, you can see these right here. So let's style them and make them first, and then we will move on to this food image container. So come back to the style.css file, add a comment here, restaurants, let me spell it correctly, restaurants section. Select the section div, which we have, this one, which is the wrapper of the food image container and the section content. And what we will do is give its width to 100%, so it will cover the whole width. Give some padding, 2 rem from top and bottom, top, and 0 from left and right, and 5 rem from bottom. So we will have a little bit more padding in the bottom side. Set its display to flex, so this image container and this text will come side by side, and just say justify content to space between to have the spacing between those elements. Set the align item to center to make them vertically centered. Now let's select the section detail, which is the content. Set the width to 45%. Set the min width to 300 pixels and a margin left to auto. So by giving margin left auto, this will come on the right side, as you can see right here. Great. Now select the section highlight and give it a padding of 0.5 rem from top and bottom and 1 rem from left and right. Set the border radius to maybe 0.2 rem for round edges, and give it a background of variable alpha secondary color, which is again the transparent greenish color, and set its text color to secondary color. So if I go back, you can see this is how it looks. Now select the section title, which is that 1000 plus text. So basically just give it a margin of 2 rem from top and bottom and 0 from left and right, and just to make it bigger in font size, so just set its font size to 4 rem. Great. Now select the section info and set its line height to 2 rem, and give it a margin bottom of 2 rem as well, so it will create spacing between the button. Great. But now if you see, we don't have so much spacing here. As you can see, we don't have so much padding here, so let's add some padding to this parent section. So let's select this section, and instead of selecting it using the ID, I will just generally select this section tag, because we will have same amount of padding for all the sections in our web page. So just set the position to relative and give the padding to maybe 6 rem from top and bottom and 10 VW from left and right. And now it's looking good. And now let's create this food image container that we have right here. So in this, what we will do is, first we will create these circles, and then we will create these dots over them, and then we will create these individual images and place them using absolute positions and left and right values. So let's make the circle first. So after this comment, below this comment, make a div and give it a class. Let's call it food image container. And for the circle, just make a div, give it a class circle. And since we need these dots on the circle, well, we will create them as a span tag in the circle, and we will have only 6 spans, which means we will create 6 dots on the circle, and we need 2 circles. So just copy this and paste it again. Copy this food image container class and go to the style.css and search where you have the hero image container, which is right here. So just add a comma and paste that class here. So this will also have the minimum width and height, because again, this section, the parent section, and this section both will have the display flex. So now let's make that circle. So select the circle, and first of all set the position to absolute and give it a width of 100% and a height of 100%. Set the top to 50%, left 50%, and let's give it a border radius of 100%. Great. Now to make it imperfectly centered, use transform property and set its translate to -50% and -50%, and just scale down a little bit. So let's say it to 0.8 scale, so it will have a sort of 80% width and height after the scaling. And give it a background of primary color, which is the white color, and give it a border of 0.1 rem solid, and the color will be secondary color. If I go back, you can see the circle right here. Great. Now let's style the span tag so that we can have dots on it. So select the circle and then select the span, set the position to absolute so that we can use left and top properties. Set the width to 0.75 rem and height to 7.75 rem as well. For the circle, set its border radius to 100% and give it a background of variable secondary color, and just give them a transform translate -50% and -50%. Notice I'm not giving top and left values here, because I will give them individually after selecting these span tag individually. So let's select them now. So select the circle and then select the span and use nChild selector to select the first span of the circle. So this will select the first span, which is this one, and basically what we will do, we will use top and left properties to position it. So set its top to 0 and set its left to 50%. And you can see there is one dot and all these spans are here. So just copy this and paste it 5 more times to create 6 spans, and just now select the second one and set its top to 30%, set its left to 4%. Now select the third one, set the top property to 30% again, but set its right instead of left to 1.5%. Now select the fourth circle, set its bottom instead of top to 30% and set its left to 3%. Well, these values that I'm writing is calculated. I have tested them before creating this video. If you don't know how to do that, just open an inspect window and select the individual span tag, and just you can play with these values here to see what exactly work. So you can also play with these values to see whatever you like. So again, come to the topic. Now select the fifth one and set its instead of top, set its bottom to 30% and give it a right of 0.5%. And now select the last one, which is the sixth, and set its bottom instead of top to negative 2.5%. If I refresh, well, something is not working. Let's see. Let's see what span this is. So if I select it, it is the third one, which means I have a issue right here. So what it should be top to 30%. Yeah, right should be 1.5%. And now we have dots all over the places. Now I need, if I go back to the design, you can see I have these two circles. I have created them right here. Now I just have to make the second circle of scale 1. So I will select the circle using the nth child selector, select the second one, and first of all set its background to variable alpha secondary color, so it is the transparent secondary color. Set its z index to -1, so it will come below this first circle, and just set its transform translate to -50%, so it will make the circle in the center, and instead of having scale 0.8, it will have a scale of 1, and just say rotate of 30 degree to rotate the circle, so it will have the dots on different sides. If I remove the rotate and if I go now, well, you can see these dots are exactly in the line, and by giving the rotate, they are different now. Great. Now let's make the images, because after that we are only left with the images. So after these circles div, make a div, and I'm not going to give any class to it now because we don't need any. Just add a image, and these images will be these thing. We don't need to wrap them in any element itself. So give the path. So first will be the food 1, and also give the class food image, and we have 7 food images. So this is the first one. Copy it 6 more times and just change the path of each food. Now you can see, well, these circles are not circles anymore because they are stretching because of the images width and height. So now let's make it perfect. So just copy this food image class and paste it inside this CSS file so that we can style it. Set their position to absolute, and if I go back, now you won't see that long divs. Set their border radius to 100%, so it will become a circle, and give them a box shadow, not sizing, box shadow 0 for X offset and 1 rem for Y offset, 1 rem of blur amount, and give a variable shadow color, which is the shadow color. Set the width to 10 rem, the default width it will be of 10 rem. And if I go back, you can see them right here. Now we will again select the food images using nChild selector individually, and we will place them using top and left property. So select the food image and then nChild1, so it will select this first image, and the first image is this big image in the center. So what we will do is give its fit to 20 rem to make it big, and set its top to 50% and left to 50%. If I go back, well, you can see this is coming right here, not in center. So to make this image in center, I will give transform translate -50%, -50%, and it will come in center. But I want every image to be in centered for axis. So instead of giving this property in all nChild selector, I will give this inside this food image, so it will apply to all the images. Now just copy this, paste it, and now select the second one, and the second one will have a width of 12 rem, and the value will be left to 100%, and the top will be 15%. If I go back, you can see this one right here. Do the same, copy it and paste it again, and select the third one now, and the third one will have a width of 10 rem, and the left value will be 107%, and top to, let's say, 60%. If I go and check, this is how it looks. Copy this again, paste again, and change it to 4 to select the fourth food image. Change the width to 8 rem, set its top to 95%, give its left to 80%. If I go back and see, there it is. Paste it again, select the fifth one, change the width to 6 rem, and set its top to 100% and left to 40%. Well, it should be 40%, and now it is looking good. Paste it again, select the sixth one, set the width to 4 rem, and set the left to 10% and top to 80%. And now we just need to select the last one, so paste again and select the last, which is the seventh one. Set the width to 2 rem, and the top value will be 55% and the left will be 0. And with this, the image container is looking pretty good. Well, if you see, I guess it is looking a little bit bigger in size compared to this hero content. So let's scale this a little bit down. So for that, just select this food image container, where it is. Well, we don't have any specific selector for this because we have the styles in the. So select the food image container here and just say transform scale 0.8, and it will scale down to 0.8. And now it's looking good. So this is our hero section, this is our restaurant section where we have this section. Now after this section in the design, we have these restaurant cards where user can go and order the food. So let's make this cards now. So after this whole section div, if I click on this toggle button, it will collapse it. So it's good if you collapse the code, it will be much easier to focus on the next code. So now let's make that restaurant container. So make a div and give it a class restaurants container, and this restaurant container will be the container of the cards. So the individual card will have a class restaurants, and actually restaurant, not restaurant, it's a single card. And if you see, what we have is we have first this discount thing, and to make that, just add a p tag, give it a class discount, and here I can say 50% off, just like this. So this is discount. And after that we have this thumbnail or the card image. So for that, make a div and give it a class restaurant thumbnail, and inside it make an image tag. In the source give the restaurant image, and in the class just say it restaurants image. If I go back and see, you can see it is first saying 50% off and the image. Now after that I have this name of the restaurant. So after this restaurant thumbnail div, make another div and give the class restaurant body, and this will contain the name and the menu and everything. So make an h3 tag and give it a class restaurant name. Let me just copy this name and paste right here. After that I need a paragraph for this menu thing, so add a p tag and give it a class name, not name, give it a class menu, and just copy this and paste right here. Now again make a p tag, give it a class place, and this will be this place text where this restaurant is. So let me just type here the text, and then we have this 4.2, like this rating thing. So for that I will make a span tag and give it a class rating, and here I need first of all this text and then this icon. So for the text I can just type 4.2, and for the star icon, well, I have to copy it from this review thing. So this is the star icon I tag, so just copy and paste right here. And this is our fun card structure. So like this we have 5 more cards, total 6 in total. So just copy this and paste it 5 more times. Now just quickly change the values of each cards. Since in the design I don't have this discount element in these 3 elements, I will remove the elements from these 3 cards. And let me just change the name and the images quickly. So after changing all the info right here, this is how our HTML look. Now let's just style it in the CSS. So go back to the style.css file, and now let's style it. So first of all select the restaurants container, which is the wrapper of the cards, and give it some margin top, let's say 5 rem from top, and use a grid box here. So set its display to grid, and we need 3 columns of grid. So for that say grid template column, say repeat 3, and 1fr will set all 3 columns of a same width. Now add a gap of 2 rem for space between the grid. This is how it looks. Now select the restaurant card, individual card, set the position of them to relative, and set width to 100%, give a padding of 1 rem from all 4 directions, give a border radius of 0.5 rem and set its border to 0.1 rem solid, and give it a color of border color. So this is how it looks. Now select the discount element and set its position to absolute. Give it a color of light text color, which is white color. Add a padding 0.3 rem from top and bottom, 0.5 rem from left and right. Set its background to discount color, which is this red color. Add a border radius of 0.2 rem for round edges. Set its left to 0 and top to 7.5%, and give it a z index of 2, so it will come above the thumbnail of the card, as you can see this here. Now select the restaurant thumbnail and set its position to relative. Set the width to 100%. Give it a height of 15 rem and set its overflow to hidden, so it will hide the image overflow, and just give the border radius to 0.5 rem for round edges, like this. Actually here in the restaurant, just give overflow to hidden and it will not scroll until we will give all the style. Let's just let it have the overflow hidden. We will remove it afterwards. So now select the restaurant image and just give it a width 100% and height 100%, and set its object fit to cover, so it will make the image in proportions, it won't break the proportions, and set the border radius to 0.2.5 rem. Add here a transition because we will add a hover effect. So at a transition, the transition will only affect the transform property. Duration will be 0.5 seconds, and here give a transition curve variable. Well, what this transition curve variable is, if I go back to my root, here you can see transition curve contains this cubic bezier, and this cubic bezier just represent the graph of how the animation should work. So this cubic bezier is just a graph of how the transition will behave, the speed of it. So now when I hover the restaurant, so select it hover. So when I hover the restaurant, select the restaurant image and then just transform and scale it to 1.1. So if I take my mouse over the images, well, nothing is happening. Let me check the class is correct. I guess the class names are not correct. Yeah, it should be restaurant image, not restaurants image. So let me just fix this class name. And if I go back, now it is working. Great. Now I don't think so we need the overflow, that was just because of the image. So if I remove the overflow, yeah, nothing has changed. So we don't need the overflow now, overflow hidden now. So now let's style this info or the body of the card. So select the restaurant body and give it a margin of 2 rem from top, 0 from left and right, and 1 rem from bottom, and set its position to relative. Now select the restaurant name and just set its font size to 1.2 rem along with a text transform capitalized to make first letter capital. Set the font weight to 400 for a regular font, and give it a margin of 1 rem from top and bottom and 0 from left and right. And this is how it looks. Now Just select the menu, set its width to 80% and set the opacity to 0.75. Give overflow to hidden, and to add, actually if I just refresh, well, you can see I already have these dots in my text. But what if I don't have these dots, but instead of that I have the actual text? And if I want to just hide the overflow of the text, how I will do it? Well, to do that, what I will do is I will first set the overflow to hidden, and then I will say white space no wrap. So it will make the word no wrap. So it means it won't wrap the words. And then just set text overflow to ellipses, and this text overflow ellipsis will add those dots whenever there is a overflow. And just give it a margin of 1 rem from top and bottom and 0 from left and right. Well, you won't see the style in effect because this is not overflowing right now. But if I give it a font size, let's say of 2 rem, then you can see there is a 3 dots, and here you can see the dots. So this means our overflow is working. Now select the place class and set its font weight to 700 to make it bold, and just give it a text transform to capitalize to make first letter capital. And yeah, now we have to style this rating. So select the rating, give its position to absolute, and set right to 0, top to 0 as well. Give it a padding of 0.4 rem from top and bottom and 0.6 rem from left and right. Give it a background of variable secondary color, and for the color, set its color to light text color, which is the white color, and give it a font size of 0.9 rem. If I check, this is how it looks. Set its display to flex, so we can add the gap property to add a gap between the text and the icon. So just use gap property and say 0.5 rem. Just give it a border radius of 0.2 rem. And with this we are done with this cards also. Let me add a hover effect to this restaurant card as well. So just select the restaurant and select it when it gets hover, and just change its background to variable card hover bg color. So if I hover the card, the background color will change, and that's looking good. And with this we are done with this container also. If you see in the design, I also have this text and this dining available. Well, it is easy to make, and I don't think so you need to know this. Actually, I forgot to make it when coding this video before recording it, so I hope you can make this. So after this we have the leaves sort of right here on the right side and the left side. So let's make those. So for that, let's just go at the top of this section, which is right here, and here let me add an image, and this will be the leaf image. So actually don't add an image, add a div, and this div will have a class leaf layer, and this will be the leaf. And since we want this to be on the right side, the first one, the above, the first leaf is on the right side, so I will just say right, and here inside it make an image tag, give the image source, which is the image leaf.png, and give it a class. Actually no need to give it a class because we will style it using this. Just copy this and go at the bottom of this section, paste it, and instead of right class just say left, because the second leaf layer is this on the left side, and change the image part to leaf left. So this is the left image, and if I go back you can see the image right here in the beginning and at the bottom. So now let's style it. So here select the leaf layer and set their position to absolute, set the width to 10 rem and height to 10 rem as well. Set its overflow to hidden because we have image inside the div, and give the z index to 2, so it will just come above. Why I'm giving z index 2? Because in the design you can see this leaf is above this div or this section, so for that the z index should be 2. Now select the leaf layer and the image element, set the width to 100%, height to 100% as well, and give its object fit to cover, so it will maintain its ratio. Now select the leaf layer when it has the right class and just set its right to -5%, set top to 25%, and just use transform property to make it a little bit smaller, so scale should be 0.9. If I go and check, you can see the right is here. Let's rotate it a little bit, so rotate 30 degree, and now it is looking good. Now let's select this left one, so left select the leaf layer dot left and just set its left to 5%, -5%, and the bottom will have -5% as well. Just copy this, paste right here, and the scale will be 1, not 0.9, and the rotation will be 0, as you can see this right here. But by adding the image right here, you can see I am getting this overflow. To hide this overflow, basically you can go to this HTML part and just here you can say overflow in X direction should be hidden, and using this property you won't see that overflow scroll bar. So yeah, with this we are done with the restaurant section as well. So now let's create the next section, which is this about section, where I am having this review sort of thing on the left side and why a services card on the right side. So let's code this. So let's go to the index page and let me collapse this restaurant section, and after that add a comment about section and add a section here. So give this section an ID. Let's give it about section. And if I go back to my design, in this about section you can see I have this review section here and this about section where it is listing all the services. So let's create this right hand side first, and then we will make this review slider. So here I can add a comment saying about services, and below it I can make a div. Let's give it a class about. Inside it make an h2, and that h2 will be this ys text. So type ys here and also give it a class maybe about title. After the h2 in the about section we have this paragraph. So for that make a p tag and let's just copy and paste the text. Give it a class about info, and after making these two elements let's go to style.css file to style them. And add a comment here about section. Now select the about section and let's add or actually remove padding from it, so it will stick like that. Why I removed the padding? So that I can create this effect where this div will be 90% of width, 90% of height, and there will be no padding, so it will not create that much of space. So before creating that, let's just style the about container. So set the about width to 30% and set its margin left to auto, so it will come on the right side. Give it a minimum width also, so it won't get less than this. Now select the about title, set the font size to 2 rem, text transform to capitalize to make first letter capital, and give it a color of secondary text color. And this is how it looks. Now let's style this paragraph. So just select the about info, which is the class name of that paragraph, and just add some margin, 2 rem from top and bottom, 0 from left and right, and actually instead of giving 2 rem from bottom, give 4 rem from bottom, so it will have a much space between these cards and the para itself. And just change the line height to 2 rem, so it will have spacing between the lines of 2 rem. Yeah, it looks cool. So now let's create the services card. So after this, make a div and give it a class services container, and this services container will contain the service cards. So make a div for a card and give it a class service, and inside it what we have. So let's see our service card. In the service card, I have this image, this title of the service, and a 2-line about it. So for that, make a div, and this div will contain the image and the title of the service. So just say it is service title, and inside it just make an image, give it a image source, which will be service, and give it an image source fastest delivery, and just give it a class service image so that we can start it in the CSS. And for the name, just make h3 tag with a class service name. Let me just copy this service name and paste right here. So this is the container for the image and the title. Now we need this a paragraph, 2-line paragraph. So after the service title, make a p and give it a class service detail, and just copy this line and paste it here. So this single thing is a service card. So just copy this HTML and paste it 2 more times to create 2 more service card. And let's just change the image source quickly. Also just change the services title. So just copy and paste the titles from the design. And if I go back to website, you can see the image, the title, and the 2 lines. So now we just have to style it to make it look like a card. So after this about info, just select the service card, and we don't need to select the container because I'm not going to set the services card side by side. So I don't need to break the layout flow. So first of all, set the background color to white color, which is the primary color. And then give it a border radius of 0.5 rem. Set some margin bottom of maybe 2 rem, and give it some padding of 1.5 rem from all 4 directions. Also give some box shadow, 0 for X offset, and 0.5 rem for Y offset, 1 rem of blur. And for the color, use box shadow color variable. So this is how the box shadow is looking. Now select the service title, which is the wrapper of the image and the name. Set display to flex so the image and the name come side by side. Add a gap of 1 rem and use align atom center to make them vertically centered. Now select the service image and just make their width and height to 3 rem and give it a border radius of 0.2 rem for round corners. And yeah, it's looking good. Now select the service name and just give it a font weight of 400 to make it regular instead of bold. As you can see, the font weight is changed. Last thing, select the service detail and give it a margin top of 1 rem so it will have spacing between the name and the detail. Set the line height to 2 rem and just make their opacity to 0.75 to make it a little bit transparent. And great. Now we need to create this blue background beneath or below this section so that it will cover this 90 or 80% of the container. So for that, I'm going to use the pseudo element. So after this about section selector, select the about section again, and here create the before element, set its content to empty string, and let's make that div. So set its position to absolute, set top 0 and left 0, give it a width of 100% but give it a height of 90% so it will only cover 90% of the whole container or the section, and give it a background of variable accent color, which is the blue background. If I go back to the website and refresh, you can see the blue background, but these texts are appearing above the background and I'm not able to see the title and the images and the service card because there is a Z index issue. So to fix that, just to make its Z index to -1 so it will go below of each element, and that's how you will be able to see everything, and the div will be, the before element will be below all the elements. So now let's create this review slider. Go to the HTML page. Let me just collapse this about and let's create that. So make a div for that and just call it about us review container, and this will be the wrapper of our whole review container. So first of all, let's make this a circle rings. So for that, I will just use a div and give it a class circle, and we will create only single div, and I'm going to use then the before and after pseudo elements to create 2 more circles around it. So let's style it first. If you can see, the circle is looking like this. I haven't added any styles yet, but why is that? Because we have circle classes for this element as well, and I'm using the same class name here. That's why these styles are like this, but let's fix it. So go to the style.css file. Let's first select the about us review container, set its position to absolute so it won't affect any of the elements, and just give it a left of -10% with a width of 40 rem and a height of 40 rem so it will be a perfect square. So you can see the circle is coming right here. Now let's edit it. So select the about us review container and then select the circle. If you don't add this before and directly style the circle, it will affect this circle element as well. So make sure you select this about us review container first and then select the circle. So what we want here, first of all, we want to remove the background color, which is this white color. So remove it, say transparent, and then set its left to 20% and just give a transform translate of -50% with a -50% so it will be in center. So it gone all the way on to the left side like this. Now I need to create 2 more rings around it using before and after pseudo elements. So again, I will select the circle using this about us review container and then I will create the before. Just make a copy of this line, add a comma, and select the after pseudo element as well, because we will give some common styling here. So first of all, set the content to an empty string, position to absolute, set the top property to 50% so that we can align it in the center, left 50% as well, and use transform translate property to make the pseudo elements perfectly in the center. Give a width 90% and a height of 90%, so it will be 90% width of the parent, which is this circle, and give it a border of 0.1 gram solid, and the color will be secondary color. Set its border radius to 100% for a circle, and if I refresh, this is how it looks. Actually, this translate, I have to remove this double brackets, and now it is fixed. So now let's select the after pseudo element specifically, and then just change its width and height to 110%, so it will come right here instead of coming here. So select the about us review container, circle, after pseudo elements, change the width to 110% and the height to 110%. Actually 110%, and we are done with the rings. As you can see the design, it's looking same. So now let's create this pizza pen image. So I already have this image in the image folder, so just create an image tag and add a source of it. Give it a class pizza pen image or whatever you want to call it, and let's style it. So select the pizza pan image class and set its position to absolute. Give it a width of 100% with the height of 100%. Set the object fit to cover, so it will be in proportions in the ratios, and give it a transform of scale 0.9 because the image is too big. You can see right here. Now let's add a left property so this won't get cut. So add a left -25%, and this is right here. Actually this object fit should be contained, then only we will be able to see the whole image. As you can see, it is fixed now. Now if I go back to my design, you can see I have a little bit of a box shadow to this image as well. Now give this image a drop shadow as well. So instead of using box shadow, because it's a PNG image, and if we use box shadow, it will create shadow in a rectangle. So instead of doing that, we will add a filter of drop shadow, so it will create or cast the shadow exactly in the shape of the PNG image. So the X offset will be 0 and Y offset will be 1 gram with a 1 gram of blur, and the color will be box shadow color. If I go back, you can see a box shadow here as this color is light here. So we are done with this. Now we have to just create the review cards, and then we can make them toggle or show or hide using the JavaScript. So let's do that. So after this, just make a div, give it a class review container, and this will be the container for the reviews. Actually say it's reviews, and then instead of creating the review card again, I already have it in my header, right? So just copy this whole review box and copy it inside this review container. If I go back to the website, you can see something is there, but we need to change the HTML structure of this review box a little bit, because if you see, everything is inside this box, this image included, but we want to make this image outside of the review card so that we can see this image alone, and then we can just toggle this review box. So for that, Just take this image outside of this review box like this, and then cut the HTML part, make a div, give it a class review wrapper, and paste that here. So this review wrapper will be the parent element which will contain the image and the whole review box as well. So now I can just change the name and the image of it. So the first one will be user 5 and the name will be Sarah. You can do the changes on your own. Now just copy the review container and paste it 4 more times to create 5 cards. Let me change the image and the name quickly. So after done with that, if I come back to the website and refresh, you can see all the review cards are here, and since we have the absolute position for the review cards, all of them are coming on top of each other. So let's style them and place them individually around this ring. So go to the style.css file and let's style it. So select the review wrapper first, set its position to absolute, and give it a display of flex so the image and the review box come side by side, and give it a gap of 1 rem. If I go back, you can see the review box is on the top now. Now select the review wrapper with the review box. Don't select the review box alone. Use this review wrapper class before, otherwise it will affect the header review box. So keep that in mind and just change its position to a relative. And if I go, you can see now there is some space between the review because it's a relative now. Set its inset to 0, so it will set its top, left, or any other properties to 0. Give this review box a padding of 1 rem and a 1.5 rem from left and right. Change the background color to primary color, which is white color without any transparency, and since we have the blur effect to this review box, just remove that by setting filters to none. If I go back, this is how it looks. So let's first align or place all the review cards, and then we will talk about show and hide styles. So for that, just select the about us review container and then select the review wrapper. Use the nth child to select the review wrapper specifically. So the first one will be placed on bottom 68% and the left will be 25%. Again, how you can play with these values using the inspector windows to see what values you like. Select the second element, and for this the bottom will be 50% and the left will be 50%. Now select the third one. For this the bottom will be 30% and the left will be 65%. Now select the fourth one. Set its bottom to 5% and left to 63%. Now select the last, which is the fifth card, and just set its bottom to -23% with a left of 31%. So if I check the website now, you can see all the images are placed on the circle. Now I have to just hide these review boxes. So for that, just on the review box, set its pointer events to none, so it will not interact with the mouse, and give it a transform of scale 0, so it get scaled down to 0. Add a transition of 0.5 seconds duration with a ease in out timing function. Just remove this timing function, it should be transition. So whenever we will show or hide the review box, it will have a 0.5 seconds of transition. Now also give it some box shadow, 0 for x offset, 0 for x offset, 1 rem for y offset, and 1 rem of blur with the color of again the box shadow color. Now we want it to scale down from top left. As you can see, if I refresh, you have seen that it shrink down or scale down in the center. I want it to go in the top left. For that, just say transform origin to top left, so it will change the origin point to top left, and now it is going from top left. Now select the review wrapper and add an active class. So we will toggle this active class of this review wrapper. So whenever this review wrapper has this active class, we will select the review box and set its transform to scale, which will be 0.85. so now if I select a review box, which is here, a review wrapper, and if I just add an active class in my inspector, you can see the review box appeared. But now the issue is I can see the image over the review box, but I want to see the review box at the top, not the images of other reviews, right? So to fix that, we have to change the z index of a review wrapper. So select the review wrapper when it has this active class and just set its z index to 2. And now it is coming above the image. Now we need to toggle these class or these active classes from JavaScript. So let's write some JavaScript now. So come at the very bottom of this body tag and use script tag to add a JavaScript file. So let's see what is the name of our JavaScript file, app.js. So let's link the app.js file and open the file. And let's write the JavaScript. So first we will select the review, all the review wrappers. Let me add a comment about us review slider, and let's make a reviews variable and select all the review wrappers using query selector all method. Pass here review wrapper class, and this method will select all the elements with this class and store it in the array. Make a variable, let's call it current reviews, and this will be an array which will have 2 index numbers, which and the default value will be 0 and 2. Why? Because we want to be have 2 review wrappers active at the same time, and that will be 1 that will be 0 and the 2. So we want this one and then this one to be active at first, and then we will just toggle the classes, leaving one in between non-active. So let's see how we can do that. So make a function and let's call it update review slider, and this function will toggle or add the active class to the card. So just here, so this function will have a parameter of cards, and this card will be this array. We will just let's call it here update slider and pass this current reviews here. So what we will do, we are calling this function at start, passing this current reviews, so it is getting the array here. So we have an array inside this function. Now let's loop through it and select the individual review card using the index item. So since cards parameter is an array, use for each method to loop through it. And here say card index. This card index represent the elements of this current reviews. So these are the index number that we are going to use to access the reviews array. So here say reviews, and this is the array of all the review cards, and we want to select the active index of the current review. So for that, instead of giving here 0 or 2, just use this card index and it will select these by looping through them. And just use class list.add to add the active class. So if I go back, you can see I already have 2 review box with active classes here. Now I just have to toggle or update this current review array and call this update review slider again and again after some amount of time, so it will make a slider. For that, create a set interval, make a function, and we will call this interval after every 5 seconds. So after every 5 seconds we will loop through this current reviews array and remove the active class from the current reviews. So just copy this and paste here, and instead of cards, because we don't have any card parameter here, select the current reviews itself, and here just instead of adding active class, we are removing active class. So after every 5 seconds, whichever card has the active class, we are removing it, and then we are updating. We have to update this current review array. So say current, actually inside this array we will update the element. So select the current review, and with the card index I will make another parameter I, and this will give the index number. Well, this 0 and 2 is the index number representing these reviews, but this I is the index number of any array, which will be 0 and 1. So since I got the array, if I say I, it will select that element of the current review, and let's just set it equals to card index greater or equals to reviews dot length minus 1. So this is a tertiary operator. This is a condition saying if the the card index length is greater or equals to the length of the reviews, which means if it is the last card index, if it is the last card index, we will set it to 0, and if it is not, we will just add 1 to the current card index. So say card index plus 1, not 2, it should be 1. So this is how we can update the current review array. And since now the current review is updated, set a timeout here which will run after 250 milliseconds, and here we will just call the update review slider and just pass the current reviews. So if I go and refresh, wait for 5 seconds, and you can see the slider is working. So with this, we are done with this about us section as well. So now let's create the frequently asked questions. After this section, just make another section tag. Let's give this section an ID, and the ID will be FAQ section. So if I check my design, you can see in the FAQ section I have this heading and then this FAQ cards. So let's create that heading. For that, make an h1 and give it a class section title. Let me just copy the title and paste it here. If I check the site, you can see the title, but it is bold and very big. So let's make it small. So here in style.css, add a comment FAQ section and select the FAQ section here using its ID, and then select the section title, which is the h1 element. Give it a text align center to set its font size to maybe 3 rem, and give it a margin bottom of 8 rem, so it will have 8 rem of bottom margin, so it will create space between the title and the cards. and set its font weight to 400 so it will make it normal. And yeah, it's looking good. So now let's create the FAQ cards. For that, make a div and give it a class FAQ, and this will be the card which will contain the question as well as the answer. So make another div and give it a class question box, and this question box will be the container of our question and this cross icon. So inside it, make an h3 element and give it a class question, and this will be the question. So let me just copy the question text and paste right here. And for the font awesome icon, again I will use font awesome. So go to font awesome website, go to search, and instead of searching for cross, we will add a plus icon and we will just rotate it whenever it is active. So copy the I tag and paste it here, and this should create the icon. Yeah, you can see the quotient and the plus icon. So outside this question box, make another div and give it a class answer box, and this will contain the answer. For that, make a p tag, give it a class answer, and this will be the answer to the question. So let me copy this lorem ipsum text and paste right here. So this is the HTML for our FAQ, and since we have 4 FAQ in totals, let me copy this HTML and paste it 3 more times, and let me quickly change the question of each FAQ card. So once you are done creating the FAQ cards, it should look like this, and now we just have to style it to make something look like this. For that, go to style.css and let's select the FAQ card. Give it a margin of auto so that we can align it in the center. Now just set its width to 70%, and then margin auto will align this in center since it has a display block already, and give it a border radius of 0.5 rem for round corners. Also give some border, let's say 0.1 rem width, and it should be solid, and the color will be accent color. Give it a position relative and add a margin bottom to create space between two FAQ cards, maybe 2 rem of margin bottom, and also add a box shadow of it, 0 for X offset, 0.2 rem for Y offset, and 3 rem of blurrance, and the color will be box shadow color. So this is how the FAQ card looks. Now select the question box, which is the wrapper for the question and the icon. Just set its display to flex so it will make the icon and the question side by side, and add a gap of 1 rem. Say justify content to space between, so it will create space between icon and the question. Set its align item to center to make them vertically centered, and add a padding of maybe 2 rem from all 4 directions. Add a cursor pointer, so whenever you take your mouse over to the question box, it will change into hand icon, as you can see. Now just select the question and just for now set its font weight to 400 because we don't want it to be bold. Now let's style the icon. So select the question box and then the I tag, and just set its font size to 1.5 rem with a text align center. Set its transition to 0.25 seconds and add a color to it. The color will be secondary text color, and yeah, it is looking good. Now we just have to create this answer, style this answer, and then we have to just show and hide it whenever we click on the FAQ. So for that, select the answer box and set its display to grid. So How we will going to hide this? We will use display, and by default we will set its row to of 0 height, and then we will change its row height to 1 fr, so it will create the transition in the height. Otherwise, if we just set its height to 0 and then set its height to 100, it will work, but it won't add the transition. So that's why I'm using grid, and I will use template rows to create the smooth transition. So add a grid template row, and for now it should be 0 fr, so it will hide the answer, and add a transition to it of 0.5 seconds, and give it a border top of 0.1 rem solid, and the color will be border color. But you can see, even though the grid row height is 0, still I am able to see the answer, because this answer is not set to be hidden. So for that, just select the answer and set its overflow to hidden. So once you set its overflow hidden, it will hide it. The answer is still visible, so let's see what's going wrong. Actually, the class name is wrong here, so let me just correct the class name, and you can see it is working. Now just to give it a line height of maybe 2 rem, and add a padding of 0 and 2 rem from a left and right. And you can't see the answer, but it is styled now. Now we have to toggle this or show or hide the answer whenever we click on the question box. For that, what we will going to do is we will add an active class to the FAQ. So whenever this FAQ will have the active class, I want to show or hide the answer. For that, select the FAQ with active class, and then select the answer box, and just set its grid template rows to 1 fr, so it will get whatever height it need to be, and give it a padding of, let's say, 2 rem from top and bottom and 0 from left and right. So if I come here and open my inspector window, if I just add the active class to any of the FAQ, you can see I'm able to see the answer, and there is a transition or a smooth transition between that. So now we just have to toggle this FAQ through JS. But before doing that, let's add style for this icon as well. So for that, select the FAQ when it has the active class, and then select the question box I tag, and I will just say transform rotate 45 degrees. So whenever it will have active class, the icon will rotate 45 degree. Now we just have to toggle it through JS. For that, add a comment in the app.js FAQ, and here first of all make a variable FAQs, and this will contain the this variable will contain all the FAQ cards. For that, use document.querySelector_all and just pass the FAQ class here. So query selector method all will select all the elements matching this class, and it will give us a node list, but we want to convert that node list into an array. So to convert a node list into an array, wrap this method around a square bracket, and in the beginning just add 3 dots, so it will convert the node list into an array. So once we have an array, you can loop through the FAQs using map function, and in the map function we can access the FAQ, which is the individual card of individual card. And what I will do is, first of all, we will select the question. So declare a variable question, and instead of saying document.querySelector, we will say FAQ.querySelector, and here we will pass the class name of question box, which is this, and this question box is again the wrapper for the question as well as the icon. So here if you see, I have set I have written FAQ.querySelector instead of document. By doing this, the query selector will only search this class inside this FAQ element, so it will not select any other question box it matches. Now since we have the question here, just add an event listener to it of click. So whenever the question box gets clicked, just select the FAQ class list and then .toggle method to add or remove the active class from it, and this .class list .toggle will just add or remove the active class from this FAQ card. So now if I click on the FAQ, it should work, and you can see the icon is rotating and I am able to see the answer, and if I again click on it, it is just hiding. So with this, our FAQ is also done. And if I come back to my design after the FAQ and before this section, I have this simple dish image here. So let's create that. Inside the section at the very end, make a div and give it a class dish layer, and just to give it a class right, and right we will use to right class we will use to place it on the right side, and inside it just make an image tag and pass the image source, which is site dish.png. Now let's select this dish layer. So if I come back to the site, you can see this image. We want this image to be somewhere around here, so let's just style it. So select it in the CSS and set its position to absolute so that we can use top left properties to place it. Set its height to 20 rem and right to -5%. Right to -5%, and actually since I am giving a right to -5%, I don't think so I need this right class here, so you can delete this. Give its bottom to -25% and set index to -1, and set its pointer events to none so it won't interact with the mouse. And if I come back, you can see the image is big but the div is placed on the right side, so now we have to just make the image a little bit smaller. So for that, select the dish layer and then the image tag and just set its width to 100%, set its height to 100% as well, and give its object fit to cover so it will be in the aspect ratio. And with that, the image is on the right side and we are done with the FAQ section as well. So now let's create this download app section. So let me just collapse this FAQ section here, and after it add a comment, say download app section, and let's add a section tag here. Let's give this section an ID. Let's say download app section. If you see the design, well, this download app section looks pretty much similar to this restaurants section as well, so we will just use its section HTML to create this. We will just change the image container HTML. So let's go back to index page, and inside this section make a div and give it a class section, and instead of coding inside it any HTML, let me just copy the section from this restaurant section. Let me just copy this whole stuff and paste the HTML right here. Now let's just change this quickly. So it should be download our app, and this should be this title, section title, and it should be this paragraph. But we don't need this order food button, so you can remove this. And now in the design you can see it is looking similar to this one. Now we need the Google Play button and the App Store button. So for that, after this paragraph, make a div and let's give it a class download btn group, and this will be the wrapper for those two buttons. So instead of creating the button, I will create an anchor tag. For now the link will be hashtag because we don't have any actual link. Give it a class download btn, and here you can create inside it an image tag, and in the source you can provide the image path, which is this Play Store, and this will create the image which will be clickable. So whenever you click on the image, it will redirect to whatever you have set, you have given this href to. So you can see I got this image and I am getting this hand cursor. So just make another copy of it and just change the image path. So this should be appstore.png. If I come back, yeah, you can see both of them here. Now let's style it to make them a little bit smaller and side by side. So add a comment here, download app section, and here select the download btn group. Just give it a display flex so it will make the buttons side by side, and give it a margin top of 3 rem so it will have spacing in top, and add a gap of 1.5 rem. Now select the images of button group and just give the width to 100, not actually 100, it should be 10 rem, and yeah, it is looking good. But you can see that I am getting this white thing here because we have this overflow going on. So to fix this, you just need to refresh it and it will fix it. So now we have to create the image container here. So in the HTML above this section detail, make another div and give it a class download app image container, and this container will be the wrapper for the images or the elements inside it. So first of all, if you see, we have these two circles behind the phone and the leaves. So let's create that circles first. So make a div and give it a class pulse, because we will add the pulse animation to it later in this video. So inside this pulse wrapper, just create a div, give it a class circle, and it will create the circle, and just make another copy of it. We are getting something like this, so let's just style it. So in the style.css file, first of all select the pulse, it should be pulse, set its width to 100%, give it a height of 100% as well, and set its position to absolute. Now select the pulse and then select the circle. Make sure you select the pulse first and then the circle, otherwise if you select the circle and write the styles without the pulse, it will override the class styles which we have for this restaurant circle. So keep that in mind. Now here I can save width to be 100%, height to be 100% as well, with a position absolute. Let's set its top to 50 and left to 50%, and add a transform translate of -50%, -50% to make it in the center, and let's scale it down to 0.9. Give it a background of a variable accent color, and give it a border a radius of 100% to create the circle. Well, it is not working and it is coming like this, so it is not still fixed. Why is that? Because we need to add some styles to this class as well, the wrapper one. So copy this, and this classes, the styles for this will be same that we have for the hero image container and the about image container. So let me search that first, where it is, and then we will apply it here. So you can see we have given these styles to hero image container and food image container. Just add a comma and paste that class name here, so it will apply these classes to it, and then the circle will come will be like this. Now if you see this issue, what you can do is you can go to HTML, and instead of overflow hidden, just remove this style for now. so that whenever you get this issue, you can just scroll back to right here, and then you can just then uncomment this to refresh it, and it will get fixed. So now what we want to do is we will change the styles to the colors to look something like this. So for that, let me go here and select the pearls circle, and select the second circle using the nth child selector, and here just give it a transform of translate -50%, but instead of scale 0.9 we will say scale to 1, and give it a border of 0.2 rem solid and variable accent color, and the background will be transparent. So if I go back, this is how it looks, but this first circle is still not looking like this. So for that, give it a border none, so it will remove the border, and now it's good. So after this, we need the leaves and the mobile app. So outside this pulse div, add an image tag, and in the source just add image leaves dot png. This will be the leaf, and add a class leaf, and since this leaf image will be on the right side, add a left class to it, make another copy of it and just add a right to it, and since this is the right one, the image will be a leaf left. Actually this will be the right on the right side, but this leaf will face the pointed face will be on the left side, that's why it is leaf left. So let's just style it. So copy the leaf class, and if I just go back to the site and refresh, well, you can't see them. So let's style it to, so select the leaf class and set their position to absolute, give the height to 40%, and then select the leaf left, set its bottom to 15% and left to 15% as well, and set its transform to rotate 20 degree to rotate it 20 degree. But still I'm not getting the leaf. Let's see what's going wrong. Yeah, it should be leaf left.png, and now I got this one, but still not getting the first one, the path. Let me add it again, leaf. Yeah, it should be leaves.png. Great. It should be leaf dot left, so it will add the class whenever this leaf has this left, and now it should work. Right, you can see the leaf right here. Now I just want this leaf to be on the right side, and then we will place the mobile mockup or phone mockup over the leaves. For that, select the leaf with the right class and set its bottom to 0, right to 5%, and transform and just rotate it to -20 degree, and this is how it looks. Now I need the phone mockup here. So to create the phone mockup, after this image element, make another image element, and in the source just provide image app.png. This is the mobile mockup, and just add a class saying phone mockup, and let's just style it. Set this phone mockup position to absolute, set its height to 100%, give it a left of 50%, and add. Let's see how it looks first. So this is how the phone mockup looks. We need it to be little bit rotated, and we will add some box shadow to it. So add a transform property, add translate x to -50%, so it will make it in the center since we have left 50% here, and then set its scale to 1.1, so it will it will be little big, and set its rotate to 5 degree. Then give it a box shadow as well. The X offset will be 0, 2.5 rem for the Y offset, and 6.25 rem for the blur amount, and then the color will be phone app shadow, and set its border radius to 2 rem. If you don't set the border radius to 2 rem, if I zoom in, you can see this white sharp corner. So if you don't want that, add a border radius, and then the corner will get smooth. And with this, the download app section is also done, and we have made the image container and the content of it. So now let's move on to the next section, which is this discount slider. And to create that, let's just collapse this section, and let me just collapse all other sections as well. Yeah, so after it, add a comment and say discount banner, and we will add, and for the discount banner, add a div, give it a class discount banner, and this discount banner will be the wrapper of this text and the images slider. So let's first create the content of it. So make a div and give it a class section detail, and these class names are same as we have used in earlier. So make an h1 and give it a class section title. Just copy this line and paste it here. Then after that, we have this paragraph. So make a p tag and give it a class section info. Let me just copy this and paste right here. Then make another p class for the coupon code. If you can see, this is the coupon code, and we will create a paragraph for that. So here you can add discount code, and you can just copy and paste the text. So if I go back, you can see something like this. So let's style this first, and then we will create the slider. So in style.css file, add a comment saying discount banner, and after that, let's select the discount banner, which is the wrapper of and set its position to relative, set its display to flip, so it will make the content and the slider side by side. Give it a margin of 0 from top, 10 VW from left and right, and 5 rem from bottom. Add a padding of 4 rem, and give it a border radius of 0.5 rem for round corners. Give it a background image, and the URL will be image/discount.png. Set its background size to cover, so it will cover the background. The image will cover the background, and give it a color of light text color, which is the white color again, and set its overflow to hidden. And you can see something like this. Well, you can see the padding is not correct because we have scrolled a little bit. So for now, let me just remove this overflow entirely, and now you can see this right here. But the issue is we have this background and we have the text, but we also want this blue overlay between those things. So to create the overlay, instead of creating any pseudo element or anything like that, what I will do, inside this background image, before the URL, I will add a variable, and this variable will be discount banner background overlay. So if you see the discount banner background overlay, first of all, add a comma here. And what this variable is, let's see. So in this root, this variable contain a linear gradient. So this is a linear gradient. So you can add multiple values to background images to make them on top of each other. And since this linear gradient has opacity to it, a little bit transparency, you can see a blue transparent overlay above the image. Now we just have to style the text and the content little bit, and then we will create the slider. So select the discount banner and then select the section detail. Set its margin left to 0 so it won't come on the right side, and give it a width of 50% like this. Now select the discount banner, then the section title, and set its font size to 3 rem and font weight to 400, and set its margin top to 0 like this. Now select the discount banner and then select the section info, which is the paragraph element, and just set its font weight to 700 to make it little bit bold, and then just select the coupon code, which is the discount code, and let's style that. So this should be color variable secondary text color, and add a padding to it, 1 rem from top and bottom and 2 rem from left and right. Give it a background of white color, which is this primary color, and the border radius will be 0.25 rem. Add a width of fit content, so it will only cover the text, as you can see right here. So now we just have to create the dish slider and we will good to go then. So for the dish slider, after this section detail, make a div and give it a class dish slide, and this will be the wrapper for those 3 images. So make an image tag here and provide the image of the food. So the first one will be discount food slider 1, and make 2 more copies. The second one will be image hero pizza, and the third one will be the burger, so hero and then the burger. If I come back, you can see these 3 images right here. Now we have to make them in a triangle, and then we will rotate it. So let's see how we can do that. Select the dish slide here and set its position to absolute. Set its top to 50%, give its right to negative 17.5 rem, and this is how it looks now. Set its translate y to negative 50%, since we have this top 50, so it will make it in the center, and then give it a width of 35 rem, height of 35 rem as well. Set its border radius to 100% for a complete circle, and add a transform origin to it, which will be center. So whenever we will rotate this dish slide, it will rotate from the center, and add a transition to it. The transition will be of 0.75 seconds, and the timing function will be ease in out. If I just add a background to it, you can see we have this background. Let me remove the overflow from this discount banner so you can see it clearly. We have the circle which we will rotate, and we will place the images here in the triangle shape, so then we can rotate the container to feel like it is spinning. So for that we need to select the dish slide image, but first select the dish slide image, and let's give some common style to it. Set width to 15 rem, height to 15 rem, and give it an object fit cover, and set its position to absolute. Then only we can select them individually and place them using top left property. So select the dish slide image and use the nth child selector to select them individually. So the first one will be 50% from top,
and the left will be negative 7.5 RAM, and the transform will be translate y negative 50%. Actually just cut this translate and y and paste it in the image, because we will going to give this to all other images as well. So let me just copy this 2 more times, and the second image will be from 10% from top, and instead of left it will have right of 2 RAM. And let's select the third one. The third one will be 90% from top, and the right will be 2 RAM. And if I check, you can see I have these 3 images in a triangle, and this is a circle. Now we just need to rotate it so it feels like it is spinning. So let me remove the background first, and then let me add the overflow hidden again, so you will only see one image at a time. Now let's make this slider working. So let's write JavaScript. So after this FAQs, add another comment and just say dish slider, and let's first here select the dish slider. So make a variable, let's call it dish slider, and use document dot query selector to select it. So the class so pass the class name here, which is dish slider, and make another value, and that will be a rotation value, and by default it will be 0, and we will update this rotation value, and we will provide this value in the transform to rotate the dish slider. So make a set interval, and we will call a function after every 3000 milliseconds, which is 3 seconds. So after every 3 seconds it will call this function inside this set interval. And what that function will do, it will add 120 degree to this rotation value variable. So every 3 seconds we are updating the rotation value and adding 120 to it. And once we have added the rotation value, we will just say dish slider to select the container, and then dot style to add its CSS, and the CSS property that we need to change is transform. So dot transform equal, and then we will use template string, template literals, and here you can say translate y to be negative 50%. You have to give this, because if you don't give this and just provide rotate, it will remove this property, and then we will not be able to see it in the center. Then add a rotate here and add a degree, and instead of saying here 10 or 20, we will add the rotation value variable here like this. So every time, every 3 seconds, we will update the rotation value, and that way it will update the transform of this dish slider like this. So if I go back and refresh, it should rotate after 3 seconds. Let me see the inspector window, and actually I'm getting this error. So why is that? It should be slide, not slider. And now this slider should work. As you can see, every 3 seconds this slider is rotating, and this is working. So with this, our discount banner is also done. So now we just have to create this footer. So let's create the footer. So let's go to index.html page, and after this discount banner, add a section, give it an ID footer, and let's create it. So inside our footer we have 4 sections. First one is this company info, where we have logo, the social media links, and the app download buttons. And then we have this useful links, and then information, and then the contact us. So we will create this company info first, and then we will move on to these links. So let's create the company info. For that, make a div and give it a class company info. Here make an image, and in the source give footer logo. Add a class logo so that we can start it in the CSS. And for the social media icons, make a div and give it a class social links. This will be the container for the links. So make an anchor tag, and for the href just set it to href hashtag now, and inside it we will just make the icons. And again for that I will use font awesome. So let's search for Instagram. Here I will use this one, paste here, make 4 more copies of it, and let's quickly change the icons. So second will be Facebook, copy the I tag, replace it with this one, third one will be Twitter, fourth will be Discord, and the last is YouTube. So if I go back to the website, you can see logo and the social media icons. Other than that, we have these 2 buttons inside the footer. For that, I will go to this download app section, and I will just copy this download btn group and paste it after the social links. And this is how it looks. So now let's style it. So copy this footer id and add a comment in style.css footer. Select the footer. Let's set its position to relative. Give it a padding of 4 rem from top, 10 VW from left and right, and 8 rem from bottom. Why 8 rem? Because we will have more padding in bottom, then we can place this image and the text using absolute position. Give it a display flex so the company info and the links will come side by side, and add a gap of 5%. Set its background to variable accent color, and this is how it looks. Now select the company info, then select the logo. Set the height to 3 rem with the margin bottom of 2 rem to create space between the logo and the social links. Now select the social links, set the display to flex, add a gap of 1 rem, and now select the social links anchor tag, set their width to 3 rem and height to 3 rem as well. Give a padding of 0.5 rem, set border radius to 100% for circle. Give it a background of a primary color, which is a white color, and this is how it looks. Now set its display to flex so that I can use justify content center and align atom center to make the icon in the center. Set text decoration to none so it will remove the underline because it's an anchor tag, and give it a color of light text color. Actually, light text color is black color. We need the black color. So this should be text color, this primary text color. Give its font size to 1.5 rem and a transition of 0.5 seconds. Great. Now select the footer and then select the download btn image. So this download btn is this one, and we are selecting the image and just give it width to 8 rem to make it like this.
So the company info part is done.
Now we can move on to the links, and for the links, outside of this company info div, which is ending right here,
make a div and give it a class footer links container,
and this footer links container will be a same for all these three elements, but I will give a specific class to individual elements as well, so that we can select them in CSS to add some specific styles if we need to. So the first one is useful links, so I will add useful links class to the first div, and as well as the footer links container, which is the common class. And inside it, if you see, I have in the design, first thing is the sort of heading and then these links. So for the heading, I will create an h5 and give it a class footer links title, and just copy this text and paste here. Then for the links, create an anchor tag, href will be hashtag, and in class say footer links, and just quickly copy and paste the text. So make 4 more copies of it, and let me just change the text quickly. Now copy this and paste one more time so that we can create the information one. And since it's the information links container, I will change this useful links class to information, and the title will be informations. And then just quickly copy the text and change the anchor tag content as well. And then let's create this contact us. So for the contact us, copy this and paste it again and change the information to contact. But here we don't need anchor tag because these tags are not links, these are just a paragraph. So instead of creating this anchor tag, I will create a paragraph. I will give a class footer text and just copy and paste the text here and make 3 more copies. Copy and replace these texts. And this is how it looks. So if I go at the end, this is how it looks. Now let's style it so that it will look like this. Let's just change the contact us title as well. Yeah. So in the style.css file, select the footer links container and set their margin left to auto so they will go on the right side, and then select the footer links container, the contact one, which is this last div, and just give it a fixed width which will be 20%. Why fixed width? Because these are addresses and I don't want or the phone number to go word wrap. So for that I am giving this fixed width. Now select the footer links title and say text transform to capitalize to make first letter capital. Give a margin bottom of 1 rem and the color will be variable secondary text color like this. Now select the footer links and the footer text as well. Set the color to primary text color, which is black color, and text decoration to none, so it will remove the underline. Give it a margin bottom of 0.5 rem. Set the line height to 1.5 rem and give it a display of block and set its opacity to 0.75 with the text transform capitalized. So this is how it looks. Now we will add a hover effect to it, so whenever we hover the link, it will change its color to the secondary color. So for that, select the footer links and then add a hover pseudo class, and then here say opacity to 1 and the color to be secondary text color. So if I hover the links, you can see the color is changing and the opacity is getting 1. Great. Now select the footer text so that we can add some custom style. As you can see, we need some more margin bottom here, so give it a margin bottom of 1 rem instead of 0.5 rem, and and this is how it looks. Now I just have to create these payment company images and then this paragraph. So for that, after this div, make another div and give this div a class, call it payment partners, and inside it we will just create images of all the partners. So make image tag and in the source just provide the images. So the first one is Visa one, and then make 5 more copies of it. Change the path of images quickly. So second one will be MasterCard, third is PayPal, Stripe, Apple Pay, Google Pay. So after adding the images, you can see all the images are coming here on the side because we have display flags, but we want it to be absolute position so that we can place it on the bottom side. So copy this class and paste it in the CSS so that we can select it. Set the position to absolute and set the display to flex and add a gap of 1 rem between the images. Set the right to 10 VW, so it will come 10 VW away from the right, and bottom to be 20%. And you can see this is how it looks. I guess the images are looking a little bit bigger, so let's make it small. So select the images using payment partners class and then the image, and set the height to 2 rem. And now I have to create this for a fully secured payment gateways text. So for that, after this div, make a p tag, give it a class payment partners text, or you can call it whatever you want to call it. Just copy the text and paste here. Now copy the class name and select it in the CSS. If I refresh, you can see the text right here, but I want it to be below this images. So set its position to absolute and give it a bottom of 12% with a right 10 VW. Set its font size to 0.8 rem and give it an opacity of 0.5. So this is how this looks. Now the last thing left in the footer is this design and code by Modern Web Text. So to do that, make another p tag and give it a class copy right and just paste the text here. So just copy it and paste inside it, and now select it inside the CSS. Set the position to absolute, change it to 100%, so it will cover 100%, and set the left to 0, bottom to 0, and add a text align center to make the text in the center like this. Let's add some padding to it. So add padding of 0.5 rem from all 4 directions. Set its color to variable light text color, which is again the white color, and the background to secondary color. And this is how it looks. So with this, the footer is also done, and we have made the banner, the download app section, FAQs, this review slider, and the why us panel. So with this, the website is pretty much done. Now we have to create it responsive and have to add a little bit of animations to it. So let's do that. So right click on the web page and click on the inspect to open the inspector window. And if you resize the window now, you can see that this number is changing. Well, this is giving us the screen width. So we will use this width in order to check what size we need to change the web design. So make sure this is less than 1200 pixels. As you can see, it is 1189 pixels right now. So let's add some styles for screen less than 1200 pixels. So in the style.css file, let me add a comment saying media query, and after that we will use media query. So add a media, and in the brackets add a condition, max width should be 1200 pixels, which means whatever styles we will write inside it will only apply if the width is 1200 pixels or less than that. So if the width is less than 1200 pixels, first of all select the HTML and change the font size to 14.5 pixels, and by doing that we will change whole web page rem value, and that will make our everything elements, that will make all the elements small. As you can see that if I close, the text and the images are bigger, but if I open my inspector window, they are small. So now let's style the hero section. Let's select the hero section and set its minimum height to auto. So we are removing its 100 VH minimum height, and give it a padding of 10 rem from top and bottom and 10 BW from left and right. After that, select this hero content and we will set its width to 50% instead of 40% to give it more room. So just select it and set its width to 50%. As you can see, it is bigger now. Now we have to make this image container scale down a little bit so it won't take that much of space. So we can select it using hero image container class and just say transform scale of 0.85, and if you go back, you can see, well, it is not working. It should be img container. Let me see why it is not working. Yeah, actually 0.85, it is working. Now I just wanted to get a little bit on the right side. As you can see, this review box is overlapping this input box. So for that, add here translate x and say 2 rem, so it will go on the right side like this. Now let's select individual items and make them small. So select the hero image and select its first image using nth child and give it a width of maybe 18 rem and give it a left of -5% with a top of -5%. So here you can see the changes. Now select the hero image again, but this time select the second child, set its width to 15 rem and give it a right of -9 rem with a top of 17%, like this. Now select the third hero image, give its width 12 rem, set its left to 55% and bottom to -20 rem, actually -20% it will be. And yeah, it is looking good. Now we just have to edit this, make this review box a little bit smaller. So for that, select the review box and set its width to 25 rem and give it a bottom 0, left 0, and it should work. And you can see the hero image container is looking good according to this screen size, but if I close the inspector window, it is getting its old styles back. So after the hero section, let's edit this section. So before doing that, let's style our whole section using this section tag and just change their padding to 3 rem from top and bottom and 10 VW from left and right. So it will decrease the padding of all the sections. And now let's select the restaurant section, which is this restaurant section. Now we need to style this food image container. So select the food image container and let's scale down a bit. So say transform scale 0.75 and this is how it looks. Now we need it to be on the left side, so give it a translate of x of -6 rem, so it will go towards left, as you can see right here. So it's done. Now let's work on this restaurant container. So select the restaurant container and we will just change its cap to 1.2 rem, so it will make the cards little bit closer, as you can see right here. Now let's move on to this about section. So here what I will do, I will shrink down this a little bit. For that, let me add a comment here about us review container, and here select the about us review container, set its transform to scale 0.9 and give it a translate of x of -15%, so it will go towards left side. And now you can see this is much smaller. Now let's work on our FAQ. So instead of having the width 70% here, I will just change its width to 100% to make it looks more cool. So FAQ and give it a width of 100%, and now it will cover 100% of its width. Great. Now let's work on this download section app. So select the download app section and then select the section title. Set its font size to 3.5 rem because the text is a little bit big. Now it is good. Now select the dish layer, which is this dish item here. We will scale down this one also, so make it scale 0.85 and add a translate x of 4 rem, so it will go towards right side, as you can see right here. Now let's make this a little bit smaller too. So here where you have you are setting this transform to this about review container, just add a comma and select the food download app image container as well, and this will make it scale down, so it is looking good. So with this, our website is looking good for less than 1200 pixels screen size. So let me make this window size much smaller and somewhat around 998 pixel. We will add another breakpoint. As you can see, this is not looking good, so at 998 pixel we will give some different styles. So make another media and in the bracket say max width to 998 pixels. So whatever style we will write inside it only apply if the screen size is equal or less than 998 pixels. So inside it, basically first of all select the HTML and change the font size to 13.5 pixels, and that will make everything much smaller, as you can see right here. Now let's select the section and also select the footer and just change their padding values. So give the padding to 3 rem from top and bottom and 7 VW from left and right instead of 10. Now let's work on our navbar. So now let's select the navbar. So select the navbar and just change its padding to 0 from top and bottom and 7 VW from left and right. So it will change have less padding. Now let's style the hero section. Select the hero section and set its minimum height and set its padding to 5 rem from top and bottom and 7 VW from left and right. Now select the hero image container and give it a transform of scale 0.75, so it will scale down to 0.75, and add a translate x of 2 rem. Now select the hero heading and change the font size to 3.5 rem. This is how the website looks. Now select the hero line, which is the next paragraph element after the hero heading. Set its margin top to 0.5 rem. And now at the end, select hero action begin container, which is the container of both buttons. Set the cap to 1 rem. So this is how our website looks. Now I think I need to change the review box a little bit. So actually we will edit the review text. So select the hero section first using the ID and then select the review. Give its font size to 1.3 rem with a line height of 2.3 rem. And this is how it looks. Seems good. Now let's work on this image container to make all the images little bit small. So for that, let me add a comment, restaurant section, and here I will select the food image container. First of all, change its transform scale to 0.8 and give it a translate x of -10%. Then select the food image and child first. So select the first image, set its width to 10 rem and give it a left of 95%, and actually select the second one because the first one is this image right here. So select the second child and set its top to 20%. So this is how it looks. Now let's scale down all the images as well. So copy this, paste again, and this time select the third one, and this third one will have a width of 8 rem and the left will be 99%. Remove the top, we don't need it. Now paste it again and select the fourth child, set its width to 6 rem and set its left to 75%. Remove the top. If you see, this is how it looks. Now select the fifth one, change its width to 4 rem, actually change it to 5 rem instead, and change the left to 35% and top to 97%. Now select the sixth one, remove the width because we don't need to change the sixth one's width. Change the left to 8% and top to 77%. And if I go back, you can see our image container looks much cleaner now. So now select the about us. So let's go to here and let's remove this review container from here and let's make this cover the whole section. So let's do that. So select the about and give it a padding of 5 rem from top and bottom and 10 VW from left and right. Then select the about us review container and just say it's display to none, so it will hide the about us review container. As you can see, it is gone. Now we need to style this. So select the about and give it a padding of 0 with a width 100%. Select about info, set its width to 70%, and if I refresh, this is how it looks. But we don't want the cards to be like this. Now we want cards to go side by side. For that, we will add display flex to services container. So select the services container, it will be service container, and set its display to grid and say grid template columns to repeat 2, 1 fr. So it will create 2 columns of the grid and add a gap of 2 rem between the grid columns. And actually it is not working, so it should be services.container, and now you can see it is looking good. Now select the service card and remove their margin bottom, because we don't need it because of this grid gap. Now let's style this discount banner. So select the discount banner and just give it a margin of 0 from top, 5 VW from left and right, and 5 rem from bottom. So it will have that kind of spacing. And yeah, with this is looking good. Now we just have to make this footer responsive. So select the footer and give it a padding of 5 VW. Now set the padding of bottom to 5 rem and set its flex direction to column. Add a gap of 2.5 rem, and this is how it looks. Now select the footer links container and just set their margin left to 0, so it won't come on the right side, as you can see right here. Now say display to flex and add a gap of 1 rem with a flex wrap, so it will make it responsive, and all the links will come side by side, as you can see right here. Now select the footer links title and set the display to block, so they will cover the whole width, and set the minimum width to 100%. Remove their margin bottom, and now it is looking good. Now select the footer link container with the contact class, so which means we need to select the last contact as one, and just set their width to 100%. Set its width 100% and it will look like this. Now select the company info, then the logo, and give its margin bottom to 2 rem. Now select the download btn group and give its margin top to 2 rem. As you can see, these spacings are low now. So the buttons will come closer to this. Now select the payment partners. Let's set their position to relative, and let's add flex wrap to wrap, so it will come right next to here, and just to set its right to auto, so it won't go out of the screen like this. Select the payment partners text as well, set its right to auto, and give its position to relative as well. And with this, the footer is responsive as well. So after this, the next breakpoint of the screen we will going to use is 820 pixels. So let's go to 820 pixels of screen width. As you can see right here, I am on 819 pixel. So now let's style that. So add a media, and here say max width 820 pixels. So whatever style you write here will only apply if the screen size is less than or equals to 820 pixels. So here, first of all, we will style the navbar. So before creating the navbar, let's make the navbar toggle button. For that, come into the navbar, and inside this nav extras, after the card btn, add a div and give it a class nav toggler, and inside it make 3 span. So this will be our nav toggler button. So by default select this nav toggler in here and just set its display to none, so you won't be able to see it by default. But whenever the screen width is less than 820 pixel, select the nav toggler again and set its display to block instead. Give it a width of 2.5 rem and a height of 2.5 rem as well. Set its position to relative. Add a cursor pointer, so you will have a hand cursor whenever you take your mouse over there and over it, and add a transition of 0.5 second with ease out method. And now select the nav toggler span items and just set the position absolute, and we will use span to create those horizontal lines. So set the position absolute and give it top 50%, left 50%, and use transform property to make the span in the center. So say translate -50% and -50%, and now give it a width of 70% and a height of 1.1 rem. Also give it a border radius of maybe 1 rem to have round corners. Set its background to secondary color, which is the green color, and add a transition to it, maybe 0.5 second, and the timing function will be ease out. So if I see, you can see the line here, but if I go over 820 pixel, you won't see that here. So now let's select the nav toggler span. Now use nchild to select the first nav toggler and span and set its top to 30%, so it will come above this one like this. Copy this, paste again, and select the third one and just change the top to 70%, so it will come below like this. Now select the nav toggler and add a active class, and then select the span. First span using nchild. So whenever we will add active class to nav toggler, well, we will toggle this active class from JavaScript. So whenever we will add this class to it, we want to make the span in a cross symbol. So for that, what we will do is set the top to 50% and transform to translate -50%, and the rotate will be 45 degree. Just copy this, paste again, and change the 1 to 2 3 and change the rotation value to -45. Now if I come here and click on the nav toggler, and if I add active class here, you can see I got a cross. I just need to hide this second span. So for that, select the nav toggler when it has the active class and select the span. Using nchild, select the second one and just say its width to 0. So you can see right here, if I remove the active, it will go to these 3 hamburger sign, and if I just add an active, it will like a cross. So after this, let's work on this links container. So select the links container and set its display to block. Give its left to 0, top to 100%, set its width to 100% as well, and remove the margin left. Give it a position of absolute so it won't affect the navbar, and give it a background of variable accent color. This is how it looks. Give it a transition of 0.5 seconds. Set its Z index to -1, and yeah. Now select the links container when it has the link container, then the link item and say text align to right. It should be link items, and you can see the link item on the right side. Now select the links container again and then select the links. Set the display to block and add some padding, maybe 1.2 rem from top and bottom and 10 VW from left and right, like this. And let's change its hover effect. So select the links container, then select the links and add a hover state and set its background to variable primary color, which is white color, and change its color to secondary text color, like this. Now we have to hide this links, and we need to show it whenever we click on the nav toggler. So for that, come inside the links container and set its height to 0 and say overflow to hidden, and then add another class style, a links container, when it has the active class, and here just set its height to 15 rem. So if I come here, you won't see it. If I go in my HTML and select the links container, and if I here add active class, you can see this right here. If I remove the active class, make sure the class name is links container, and now you won't see it. So let me refresh it to remove the active class from the toggle button. And now let's toggle this navbar from JavaScript. So go to your JavaScript, and here let's go to at the very top, add nav toggler as a comment. Now let's select the nav toggler here. So use document.query selector and pass the nav toggler class here, and this will select the nav toggler button. And now select the links container using document.query selector and pass the links container class here, which is the UL. Once we have our toggler and the links container, I can say nav toggler dot add event listener to add a click event to it. So whenever it gets clicked, what we will do is we will select the nav toggler and then class list, then toggle. So this class list dot toggle will toggle the class whatever I will pass inside it, and we want to toggle the active class, so it will toggle the active class from this nav toggler, but we want to toggle the active class from links container as well. So add this, and now if I click here, it will toggle the active class of both of the items, and if I click it again, it will remove the active class, and now it is working. So now let's work on the hero section. So at the end, add a comment hero section, and let's select the hero section using its ID. Set its flex direction to a column, and if you go back, you can see we are getting the content and the image container in column, but I want this to be on top and this to be on bottom. For that, I can say column reverse, and it will reverse the column flow. Great. Now add a gap of 3 rem to have gap between the content and the image container. Now select the hero content and set its width to 80% with a minimum width to 350 pixels, like this. Now let's style this a review box. So select the hero section and then select the review box. Set its width to 40 rem, not 5 pixels, and give it a left of -20%. So it will look something like this. Now let's work on our restaurants section. So select the restaurants. So select the food image container and set its transform to scale 0.8 to make it a little smaller, and give it a translate x of -5%. And if I scroll down, this is how it looks. Now select the section and just say its flex direction to column and add a gap of 4 rem. Now I have to make it of full width. This section will be of full width. For that, select the section detail and change its width to 90% and margin to auto, like this. And now it is looking good. Now let's make this column to 2 column instead of having 3 columns. So select the restaurants container and change its grid template columns to repeat 2, 1 fr. So it will create 2 column of same width, like this. And if you see the leaf, well, this is not looking good. So let's make it a little bit on the right side, or actually, yeah. So select the lift layer, leaf layer right, and just set its right to -10%, like this. And well, let's remove this leaf layer from here. So select the leaf left and just say display none. So it will remove this leaf. Great. So after this, let's work on this download section. So add a comment, download section, and now select the download image container. Add a transform here, set its scale to 0.75 and add its translate x to 0. So this will look something like this, which is looking good. Now select the download btn group and set its flex direction to row. So this will come here. And now let's edit our discount banner. So select the discount banner and then select the section detail, give its margin to 0 and set its width to 100%, like this. And let's just remove this dish slider. So select the dish slide and just say display none, and it will remove the dish slider. Great. Now with this, our footer is also done and it is looking good. So let's move on to the next breakpoint of our screen, which is 500 pixels. So let's go to 500 pixels and right here, let's style the website a little bit. So add another media here and say in the brackets max width should be 500 pixel or less than it. So whatever style you will write here will apply only if the screen width is less than or equals to 500 pixels. So in that case, select the hero section first. So select hero image container and set its transform to scale 0.7 and give it a translate x of 0. So it will look something like this. Now select the hero section and then select the review box, change its width to 25 rem and give it a left of 0, like this. Now add a comment restaurants and let's style the food image container. Set its transform to scale 0.9, 0.7 actually, and give it a translate x -5%, like this. Now let's make this a restaurant container of 1 column. So select the restaurants container and say its grid template columns to 1 fr. So it will make a 1 column, and we want that same 1 column for this services container as well. So select here services container and it will make the services container one column as well. And with this, the website is looking good for smaller screen as well as for the larger screen.
So our website is fully responsive now. So if I click on this mobile icon and see this design, let me choose iPhone 12 Pro. Well, still you can see that there is overflow going on. And to fix this overflow, what you can do is you can select the body and add overflow X hidden here, so it will hide the overflow in the X direction. As you can see that everything is looking good now. So let me just copy this overflow X hidden and let me go to style.css file and let me add this to the body so we won't see that overflow again. Great. Now we have a little bit of issue here. As you can see, our website is fully responsive for mobile and tablet sizes, but if we go to larger screen, let's say 1440 pixels for laptop screen or like 4K screen resolution, in that case our website is not so good. So to make that responsive for larger screen as well, what we can do is we can go to our media queries and before the max width of 1200 pixel, add another media and say it's to be a minimum width of 1440 pixels. So this means if the screen size is 1440 pixels or greater than this value. If the screen size is equal or greater than 1440 pixels, then what we want to do is just set the HTML font size to 20 pixels, so it will increase the REM value for the entire project. So if I refresh now, well, if I go to 1440, now you can see this website is looking good for 1440 pixels, but it is not looking good for 2K or 4K resolutions. So to make that also, make another media and here add minimum width of 2000 pixels. So whatever style you will give inside it, it will only apply if the width is at least 2000 pixels or greater than that. So here select the HTML and set the font size to, let's say, 25 pixels, so it will change the REM value. As you can see, now everything is bigger and the website is looking good for this screen resolution as well. Now since we are setting this 20 pixel font size for 1440 pixel size, and for this 1200 pixel screen size we are setting this 14.5, so we need to give a screen width of which will lie between these two screen resolution, where I can set the default HTML value. So for that, select the media and make the media, and here say max width to be 1440 pixels. So this means if the screen width is less than 1440 pixels, in that case we will set the HTML font size to default 16 pixels. So that way the default 16 pixel will be there. And now our website is responsive for larger as well as smaller screens. So now let's move on to the next section. Let's add the animation to this website and let's complete it. So to add the animation, we will use a library called animate on scroll. So just open a new tab and search for animate on scroll. Click on the first link, which is this GitHub pages, and this animate on scroll allow you to add animations on scroll. As you can see, I am scrolling on their website and I'm getting these sort of effects with these elements. So just go at the end of this website and you will find the CDNs. So just copy this CSS CDN, and in the index page after this font awesome, let me add a comment AOS CDN, and here you can paste the CSS CDN and go at the bottom and copy this JavaScript CDN and paste above the app.js. So this will import the AOS library. Now if you see here initialize, you can see that we have to initialize aos by calling aos.init. So just copy that line and go to the app.js file and paste this line at the end. So this will initialize the aos, so this will add animations. Now we can add animations by using an attribute called data aos. So if you see the website here, all the animations have this data aos attribute and the name of the animation. So let's add it. So first of all, let's make this hero image container, so work on that. So select this background element, and in this tag I will say data aos, and here I will give the animation name which is fade in. So if I go and refresh, well, nothing happened, but you can see that it is now a line instead of circle. So so let's see why it is that. Let me select it and hero image container, and there is the background color. So here if you see that we have a transform translate 0 going on. If I just untick this, the ring is correct now, is still good. So I just have to remove this transform property from this circle or ellipse to make this working. So how we can do that is we can go in the style.css where we have the ellipse styles right here, and here I can select the background element, or actually instead of selecting the background element I will select the data attribute. Actually select the background element and then select the aos animate class. So this aos animate class will only add to the element if it is in the scrollable zone. So you can see there is aos animate class to this element. So if we have this animate on scroll, what I want is to set the transform to none, so it will apply transform to none, and also add a important here, so it will override the transform of other. But if you see, this is still not working. So to make sure that it works, here say data aos and equals to, and just add fade in. Actually remove this background element and let's see it works or not. Yeah, now it is working. So instead of selecting the background element, just select the fade in using its data aos attribute, and then just set its transform to none, and it will work. So after you have this, now let's add animation to these individual images and the review box. So go back to the index page again, and in the image give this a data aos, and the animation that we will use for the image is zoom in. So just copy this attribute and paste it in other images as well. And if I go back and refresh, you can see these three images are coming zooming in, and we are getting the ellipses fading. Now let's add a delay in between the animation. So how we can do that? We can use data aos a delay attribute, and we can pass the time in milliseconds here. So the first image will be of 0 delay, and then just simply copy this attribute, paste it in other image as well, and second image will have 150 milliseconds of delay, and third will have 300 milliseconds of delay. And now you can see this is how it is working. So now let's add the just copy this line, this zoom in and delay, and just paste it in the review box, and let's change the delay to 450, and let's just paste this in reviewer info as well. And here instead of the animation zoom in, change it to zoom out, and the delay will be 600 milliseconds. So now if I check, this is how it looks, which is good. Now in the review body as well, paste these attributes, and instead of zoom in, set it to zoom out, and the delay will be 650. And if I refresh, this is how it looks. Now let's add a delay to this ellipse so that it fade in at the last. So for that, just here add data AOS delay, just add 700 milliseconds of delay, and now this is how the animation is looking. Let me refresh it again. So we are done with our hero image container. Now let's animate this restaurant slider. So for that, go to this restaurant section and come here, and there is a div, right? We have all the images inside this div, so just add this div a class, let's call it food image animation wrapper, and we will use this class to override some transform values so that we can animate these things. And just add here data AOS, and you can give here fade. So if I go and refresh, well, you can see all the placement of images are gone. They are coming on a straight line. So let's fix this. So for that, go to the style.css and go at the very bottom, and at the very bottom we will declare some animations. So let me add a comment here, animations. And now here let's select the food image animation wrapper, which is the div of these images, this one. Just select it and set its transform to a none and give it importance, so this will override the transform property. So after that, if I go and refresh, you can see I got the fade in effect, and if I scroll down, this is getting fade in. So now let's add animation to this leaf and this leaf. So let's go and find that leaf. Here it is. Just add data AOS here and say zoom in up, and this will add a zoom in up effect, as you can see, like this. Now let's add animation to this review slider. So go to that review slider, and in the about us review container, just add a data AOS, and the animation will be zoom in up. So add that animation. So as you can see, it is zooming in up. And now after doing that, collapse these review containers, and we will add animation to them. So go to style.css file, and here select the about us review container when it has the AOS animate class, and then select the review wrapper and give them an animation which will be zoom in up of 0.5 second duration, and add a delay with this variable AOS delay, which we will add in the HTML, and the motion will be forwards and it will run only one time. So let's create this zoom in up animation. So add the keyframes and then add the zoom in up. The from state will be transform translate x 1 rem, and scale will be 0, and then the 2 will be transform translate x 0, and the scale will be 1. So this is the animation, and we will call this animation whenever the about us review container have this AOS animate. So now let's add this AOS delay variable to all of these review wrapper. So use alt or option key to add multiple cursors and add style attribute to them, and paste the variable here, and just give time of delay in milliseconds here. So maybe 250 milliseconds. Let me change the time for other review cards again. So this will be 350, this will be 400, and this will be 450. So if I go back and scroll down, you can see everything is getting in a delay, but you can see that there is some issue. So let's go here and actually copy this transform property and then find where we have this review wrapper and add the by default property of it to this transform, so you won't see that issue. As you can see, it's fixed now. So now let's move on to our download app image container. So go to the download app image section and in this container add data AOS to this pulse, and the animation will be zoom in up. And also to this circle add another class which will be pulse animate. We will add a pulse animation to this one. So let's style it first. So go to the style.css file and here select the circle with pulse animate class, and here just provide the animation pulse, and that will be 2 seconds long. The method the timing function will be ease out and it will run for infinite times. Now create the animation. So make @keyframes and then the name of the animation. At 0% state, it will be opacity 0 and the transform will be translate -50%, -50% for it to remain in center, and the scale will be 0. Now just copy this, paste it again, and in 100 set it to 0.9. Now paste it again and around 75% change the opacity to 1 and remove this transform. So if I go back, you can see a pulse animation behind this phone mockup. So if I scroll down, well, you can see the pulse and circle are fading in. So now let's add animation to the mockup and the leaves. So in the index, let me add here data AOS to this leaf, and the animation will be zoom in, and add a delay here. So it will be data AOS delay, and the delay will be 200 milliseconds. Just copy this and paste it in second leaf, and the delay will be 300 milliseconds here. Now in the image, paste that again, and here the animation name, you can add anything. Let's call it phone mockup fade, because we will create this custom animation in CSS and the delay will be 200 milliseconds. So let's create this animation. So go to the style.css file and select the phone mockup when it has the AOS animate class, and just add the animation fade rotate, set its duration to 0.5 seconds, forwards and 1. Now create that animation. So @keyframes and then the name of the animation, which is fade rotate, and here just set its from opacity 0 and transform translate x -50%, scale to be 1.1 and rotate will be 0. Just copy this, paste it again and set it to 2. The opacity will be 1 and the rotation will be -5 degree. So if I go back and see, this is how it is looking. But if you see that whenever I'm scrolling, the animation is not smooth. So for that, just copy this transform property and go to the phone mockup where we have given the styles here, and replace the transform property with this one, and now the animation is smooth, as you can see. Now let's add animation to this slider. For that, just come here and just add data AOS flip up, and it will add a flip up animation to it, as you can see right here. So with this, the animations are also done. And with this, we are done with the web page. In this tutorial, you learned all of the different stuff you can use to make web pages like this. I hope you found this tutorial helpful and you enjoyed making this. If you have any doubt, feel free to ask them in comments, and if you want to master web development with this type of projects, then consider subscribing the channel for more. With that, I will see you next time with some other great projects. Till then, you can connect with me on my Instagram. Thanks for watching. Keep learning. Bye.